Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Lettuce Head Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Devil Deku Was Master of Sarcasm? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. The Grand UA Academy for Heroes stood tall, its reputation unmatched. In the director's office, 4 individuals gathered, each with their own purpose. Nizu leaned forward, curiosity evident in his voice. So, you're telling me you want to enroll in UA? That's right, Izuku replied, nodding earnestly. Aizawa, looking slightly perplexed, asked, why? Izuku shrugged nonchalantly. Just for the story, man. Nizu's eyebrows raised in disbelief. Are you saying you want to join the best hero academy in the world just to have a story to tell at your future shows? Yep, Izuku confirmed, downplaying the significance of his decision. Nizu smiled, seemingly amused. Well, I don't see why not. Head to Class B, Vlad will be waiting for you. He picked up his phone, ready to make arrangements. Really? Izuku exclaimed, astonished. He turned to leave but was halted by Aizawa, who ensnared him in his bindings. You asked for a spot, so now you're staying, Aizawa stated firmly. Nizu reassured him, don't worry, young man, you'll be allowed to leave whenever you have a show. Izuku nodded reluctantly, accepting the terms. As he walked through the hallways, students stared at him in awe. It was no surprise. He was the best comedian in Japan, perhaps even the world, and his presence at the academy was anything but ordinary. Passing by Class 1A, he spotted his childhood friend, Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo's surprise quickly turned into curiosity. Entering the classroom, Izuku was met with astonished gazes. Some girls squealed in excitement, while others blushed at his handsome appearance. Confusion spread across their faces as he approached Bakugo. What's up, idiot? Bakugo greeted irritably. You JRK. Izuku shot back. You're a loser. Bakugo retorted. The two locked eyes, tension filling the air. Bakugo stood up, staring intently at the green-haired boy. The students in Class 1A braced themselves, fearing a confrontation, but instead, they heard a joyful shout. Moron! They both exclaimed, embracing each other tightly. Damn it, you're bigger now, Izuku said, pulling away from the hug. Yeah, you know that since the last time we faced off, my power has increased, Bakugo replied, looking at Izuku with a smirk. What did you say? Izuku asked, confused. It's gone up. Bakugo clarified. What? Izuku exclaimed, pulling out a photo to show him. The girls who caught a glimpse of the photo blushed deeply. Wow, that's big, they thought, embarrassed. The boys, however, were puzzled. Why that? Bakugo asked, bewildered. I don't know, it's to make it look bigger. Can you imagine if I put something else? Besides, it would look tiny if I pinched myself, Izuku laughed. But putting that aside, what are you doing here, you useless idiot? Aren't you a comedian? Bakugo teased, making star gestures with his hands. Oh, I'm going to study here, Izuku said with a casual shrug. You're studying here? Kaminari exclaimed, excitement evident in his voice. Yep, in Class B, Izuku replied with a smile. Class A collectively thought, lucky. Well, I'm off, lazy butt, Izuku said, heading for the door. Screw you, idiot, Bakugo shot back, annoyed yet playful. In that moment, Izuku struck a running pose. You ready? He called out before taking off. Realizing what he had just said, Bakugo felt a mix of annoyance and amusement as the class erupted in laughter. Demon loser! Bakugo shouted angrily. Izuku turned back, leaning against the door frame while pulling out his phone. What? He said, showing the photo again before sprinting off once more. Bakugo was about to chase him but was stopped by Aizawa, who had just entered the classroom. Class is about to start, Aizawa announced, prompting Bakugo to reluctantly take his seat. That stupid idiot will pay for this. It's good he's back, Bakugo thought, a smile creeping onto his face. Momo raised her hand, eager to ask a question. Excuse me, Professor, I have a question. Why is Izuku Escamilla studying at UA? Aizawa responded, his tone bored, because he wants stories for his future shows. Now let's begin. The students exchanged glances, sweat beading on their foreheads as they thought, he only came for that. Meanwhile, Izuku continued through the hallways, stopping for photos with eager fans. He calmly obliged until he reached classroom 1B, where he entered to find the students staring at him in awe. "Izuku Escamilla?" they exclaimed, surprised and excited. "What's up?" he said, taken aback by their enthusiasm. Kendo, wide-eyed, asked, "What are you doing here?" "Well, I'm here to study." "Do you really think the academy uniform and the backpack are part of my outfit?" he replied sarcastically. "And don't call me sir, I'm not that old. I'm your age," he added with a laugh. "You're here to study?" Minoma asked, astonished. "Of course," Izuku said, giving a thumbs up. Kendo, a bit nervous, offered, "Well, then you can sit wherever you like." What Class B didn't realize was that Kendo was a huge fan of the comedian, owning figures and posters of him. "Hey, don't be like that, just treat me like one of you." "Right now, I'm just a regular student," Izuku said with a warm smile. Kendo nodded, her cheeks flushing. Before anyone could respond, a voice interrupted. "The devil himself," Vlad said with a smile as Izuku turned to look. Unbeknownst to them, this nickname had caught the attention of someone who was not pleased. Ibara thought, "Devil?" Feeling confused and annoyed. "Vlad!" Izuku exclaimed, his face lighting up. "Old man, are you a teacher?" The students of Class B were taken aback. They knew Vlad as a serious teacher who didn't appreciate being addressed informally. "Hey buddy, how are you? What are you doing here?" Vlad asked, noticing Izuku's attire. "Are you the new student?" he exclaimed with enthusiasm. "Exactly," Izuku replied, grinning. "Looks like you've become a hero, huh?" "That's right, I'm a pro hero," Vlad said proudly. "A hero of what?" Izuku inquired. "A pro hero," Vlad clarified. "A thing with a flower," Izuku said, showing a picture of his project featuring a sunflower. Almost no one had seen the picture, but the girls blushed. However, one had seen it before. "You thought it's big?" Blushing further. "What am I thinking?" "All right, devil, introduce yourself. During lunch, your classmates will show you around the academy and your dorm. Is that clear?" Vlad instructed, looking at his students, who nodded in agreement. "Well, it's a pleasure. My name is Izuku Escamilla, comedian, philanthropist, musician, model, and the next president of Mexico." "Nice to meet you," he said with a teasing smile. The students collectively thought Mexico, as they broke into nervous sweats. To be continued. Chapter End. The green-haired boy sat quietly, listening to Vlad's class, when the bell rang, signaling the end of the day. Vlad announced, "Well, the day is over. Show Escamilla the facilities and the dorms. See you later, devil." He received no response and chuckled as he left. "Wake him up." Setsuna leaned over and gently shook Escamilla. "Hey, Escamilla, time to wake up." Still, he didn't respond. "Escamilla," she called again, a hint of urgency in her voice. Suddenly, everyone watched in astonishment as Izuku transformed into smoke. "What happened?" Ibara asked, her confusion evident. "He turned into smoke?" Kendo echoed, equally puzzled. Minoma added, somewhat annoyed, "If he doesn't want to be with us, he just had to say so." But before anyone could continue, they all gasped as the real Izuku fell from the ceiling. "Is it over?" he yawned, looking around. "Was he sleeping?" everyone murmured, incredulous. "What's up? Why are you looking at me like that? Did you like it?" Izuku said with a sarcastic grin. "Yes," Setsuna replied, her goofy smile and heart-filled eyes surprising everyone. The girls exchanged glances, bewildered by Setsuna's unexpected reaction. She had always rejected boys, and they never imagined she would take a liking to one. It seemed that fame and good looks were the keys to her heart. Setsuna blushed, fidgeting with her fingers, revealing a side of herself that her classmates had never seen before. But before anyone could comment further, the door swung open. "Painerd, let me introduce you to Half and Half," Bakugo said, gesturing toward Todoroki. He can produce fire and ice from different parts of his body. Hello, Todoroki replied, his tone neutral. You said fire and ice. Izuku asked, his confusion evident. Yeah. What are you thinking, you idiot? Bakugo grinned. Izuku pondered aloud. If we put water in his mouth and he activates his heat and ice at the same time, does it evaporate or freeze? The three boys exchanged wide-eyed glances. Let's find out, Bakugo said, while the other two nodded eagerly. We'll check out the academy and all that stuff that doesn't matter to me, but I'll pretend it does later, Izuku said, glancing at his classroom. I love you guys, he added before dashing off. He loves us, everyone thought, a mix of surprise and sweat on their brows. Ibara mused, I'll ask him later why they call him Devil, feeling somewhat annoyed. The three students raced through the halls as if there were no tomorrow, startling everyone they passed. Without a second thought, they rushed to the fridge and grabbed a pitcher of water. Who here has a phone? Izuku asked, looking around. I have one, Momo said, holding it up. Then call your mom. We can't miss this, he exclaimed, unintentionally offending her. What did you say? Don't you know who I am? Momo retorted, her annoyance palpable. Yeah, Izuku replied with a smile. Then? I don't care, he said, watching her irritation grow. Do you think just because you're famous you can act like this? Well, no, she shot back, clearly upset. Who? He asked, his irritation rising. You? She snapped. No, who are you talking about? He replied, turning his attention to Todoroki, who was holding the pitcher. Momo was left speechless, humiliated, and she sank onto the couch, her aura heavy with disappointment. Meanwhile, Todoroki activated both of his quirks while holding the liquid in his mouth. After a moment he deactivated them. So? Bakugo asked impatiently. As Todoroki opened his mouth, they saw a strange liquid that appeared to be both melted and frozen at the same time. That stuff. Don't believe me, but it's not normal, Izuku said, stepping back cautiously. Everyone moved closer to inspect the substance, but their concern grew when they noticed Todoroki wasn't moving. Dude, what's wrong? Izuku asked, alarmed. I can't feel my… Todoroki replied, his voice shaky. What the… Bakugo exclaimed, shocked. I can't feel my… Todoroki shouted, panic rising in his voice. Wait a second. Izuku interjected, raising his voice. I have the scientific solution for this, he said, prompting nods from the others. Sorry, brother, he added before delivering a hard hit to Todoroki's side. How do you feel? He asked, worry etched on his face. I can feel it now, Todoroki replied, but then the pain began to intensify. He cried out. Demon it, he muttered, returning the blow in frustration. Afterward, Izuku found himself cleaning the dorms of Class 1B. I don't even know what this junk is, and I'm already cleaning it. What is this? A hostel? He grumbled, exasperated. That's the punishment Vlad gave you for what you did to Todoroki, Kendo said nervously. But why wasn't he punished? Is there some kind of bias against me? Izuku protested, outraged. Hey, I have a question. Why do they call you Devil? Ibara asked, her irritation evident. You don't care, you silly girl, he replied, annoyance creeping into his voice. Everyone shot him scowls, but he was too upset to notice. Excuse me? Ibara retorted, her annoyance growing. Yeah, I forgive you. Now be quiet, he said, resuming his cleaning. It's obvious that fame has changed you, Monoma teased, smirking at the green-haired boy. All right then, Izuku replied, giving a thumbs up. Why are you like this? Reiko asked, her irritation clear. Because I have to be, he said with a wide smile. I have to make people laugh so they'll pay me and I can live. Do you know how much a Chivas jersey costs? It's expensive, he emphasized. But hey, I don't want to come off as the bad guy. They call me Devil, because I like dark humor, sarcasm, and satire, he declared proudly. Ignorant, Ibara muttered, annoyance still evident. Everyone was taken aback. Ibara had never insulted him before. She was genuinely upset with the green-haired boy. Idiot, fool, I've heard it all before. And it makes me proud, he said, grinning widely, a traitorous tear escaping his eye. Kendo watched with a serious expression, but inside, she was bursting with laughter. He was funny no matter where he was, and even though he poked fun at his classmates, they found his remarks entertaining. "You're an idiot," Yui said, her annoyance palpable. "And you're very appealing. See? I told you the truth and you told me the truth. We're even," he replied, making her blush. "Dummy," she pouted, turning away. I knew it was you. Come here," he said with a smile, showcasing how Yui hugged him. Everyone was taken aback. Yui wasn't one to express her feelings, let alone hug someone. "It's been a long time, hasn't it?" she said, smiling. 84 years have passed," Izuku replied dramatically. Yui gently stroked Izuku's hair, her voice soothing as she said, Okay, don't be dramatic. I missed you." A smile spread across her face, brightening the moment. Izuku pulled away from their embrace, returning her sentiment. "I missed you too," he replied, a hint of warmth in his eyes. Kendo, feeling a twinge of jealousy, interjected, "Do you know each other?" Izuku nodded, his expression turning nostalgic. "We've been best friends since childhood. But when we were 10, I moved to Mexico, where I became a comedian. I returned to Japan hoping to reunite with her. Thank goodness for fate," he said, affectionately stroking Yui's hair, which made her blush slightly. Yui, her playful side emerging, exclaimed, "Well, now that we've introduced ourselves and reunited. Apologize, you idiot." She playfully smacked Izuku lightly. "Oh, right, I'm sorry," he said, bowing slightly, a hint of fear in his voice. "What else?" she continued, grabbing a handful of his green hair. "I'm sorry for insulting you," he said, glancing at Ibara, who watched with interest. "Besides that..." Yui tightened her grip, urging him to continue. "I'm sorry for acting like an idiot," he winced, feeling the pressure. She replied, pulling even harder. "I hope you can forgive me and we can be good teammates," he added, his voice tinged with apprehension. "And the last thing," she said, a slight smile playing on her lips. "Seriously, are you going to make me say it in front of them?" he asked, looking at her with a mix of disbelief and concern. "The last thing," she repeated, her expression turning menacing as she tugged on his hair. Sigh, Izuku relented. "If you have a problem, you can let my owner Yui know," he said through gritted teeth as she finally released his hair. Laughter erupted among their friends at Izuku's predicament, while Yui continued to slide his hair affectionately. "Well, kid," she said, chuckling as Izuku blushed. Reiko teased, "What a good puppy, what's his name?" She looked at Yui with a playful glint in her eyes. "My name is Izuku Escamilla," he replied, forcing a big, fake smile. "Well, kid," Reiko said, reaching out to slide his hair. Izuku felt a wave of annoyance wash over him, but he knew better than to anger two people, his saintly mother and Yui. "Oh, what a cute dog," Ibara chimed in, approaching him with a teasing smile. "What do you want, idiot?" he retorted, irritation creeping into his voice, only to be met with another tug from Yui. "Darn it," he muttered, exasperated. "What did you say?" Yui asked, her fierce gaze locking onto him. "I said someone is coming," he replied, trying to maintain his composure. "That's what I thought," she said, resuming her gentle strokes through his hair. "Not even fate can save you," he muttered, casting a wary glance at Ibara. "I have fate on my side," she teased, holding up her crucifix with a smirk. "Then we're going to sleep," Yui declared, grabbing Izuku by the hair and leading him away. Before anyone could react, she had whisked him off. Setsuno watched them go, wistfully saying, "How I wish he would obey me like that." Kendo nodded in agreement. "Well, at least we'll have someone to keep him in check." Izuku thought to himself, it was a good day. Later, in Yui's room, she hugged him possessively. "I missed you, silly," she said with a smile. "But now you won't leave. And you'll be mine. Forever. My Izuku," she thought, her smile widening. "I missed you too, Yui," he replied, kissing her forehead, causing her to blush before he drifted off to sleep. It had been a great day. To be continued. The next morning was relatively calm, but that peace was quickly shattered. Oh man, why Yui? I can't breathe, Izuku gasped, tightly embraced by Yui, who pressed his face into her chest. If you ask me nicely, maybe I'll think about it, she teased, a playful smile on her lips. Are you really going to make me say it? He asked, nearly turning purple. Say it. I love Yui. Let me go, he exclaimed, desperate for air. At that moment, Yui released him and he gasped for breath. I almost ended up in 1,000 ways to die, he said, coughing slightly. Stop being so dramatic. Hug me, okay? She said, nestling into his chest. I really missed you, she added, her smile brightening as he wrapped his arms around her. I'll never leave your side again. As long as you let this crazy guy stay by your side, he said, returning her smile. Always, she replied, planting a kiss on his cheek. After their moment, they made their way downstairs, where everyone was gathered for breakfast. Hey, Yui, can I borrow your dog? Setsuna teased. No, he's mine. And no one else's, Yui said, her smile revealing a hint of possessiveness. Oh man. Izuku muttered, feeling a bit anxious. Good morning, Izu, Kendo said, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. Everyone thought, Izuku, surprised by the interaction. Good morning, Kendo, he replied, smiling back. As they all sat down to eat, preparing for class, Izuku noticed Ibara watching him with a mix of annoyance and curiosity. He chose to ignore her until they reached the classroom and passed by 1A. Hey, you loser! Bakugo called out to him. What's up? Izuku responded, approaching. Your mom. Todoroki added, joining in. Surprised expressions spread across the faces of those nearby. Did Todoroki just make a joke? That was new. The three of them continued their banter while the students of classroom 1B made their way to their room. Suddenly, Aizawa appeared, his voice coming from within his jacket. To your classroom. Diamenet, a caterpillar. Izuku exclaimed, playfully slapping Aizawa. What's wrong with you? Aizawa replied, visibly annoyed. Oh, sorry man, Izuku said, his nervousness evident. Whatever. Just go to your classroom, Aizawa instructed, and Izuku nodded obediently. Today at 8? Todoroki asked. You bet, Bakugo and Izuku replied in unison, nodding. After that, Izuku headed to his classroom. Upon entering, he saw Vlad already teaching, and Vlad looked at him with a disappointed expression. You're late, 50 push-ups, he said, pointing to the floor. The classroom erupted in laughter, but Yui cast a disappointed glance at the green-haired boy, while Ibara shot him an angry glare. Just as he was about to leave, Vlad interjected with a smile. If you don't do them, I'll call Conchita and tell her you were late and disrespected a teacher. Izuku responded with a serious tone, you wouldn't dare. Oh, wouldn't I? Vlad retorted, pulling out his phone and making Izuku visibly nervous. Hello. Vlad began, and Izuku's anxiety grew. Vlad. Honey, what's up? Conchita answered cheerfully. Conchi, I have a problem, Vlad explained. Izuku arrived late, and I told him to do 50 push-ups as punishment. He called me an idiot and was about to leave the classroom. I threatened to call you, but he didn't take me seriously and here we are. He watched as Izuku began to tremble. That idiot, Conchita said, annoyance creeping into her voice. Put me on speaker. Vlad nodded, and Izuku stammered, hello, grandma. What do you mean, grandma, you son of a gun? Listen, you're going to behave, or I'll come out of this house to give you a talking to in front of your classmates so they can see how I raise you. Do you understand, you silly kid? She scolded. Weiss, grandma, Izuku replied, fear evident in his voice. Alright, I'm off. Eat well, I love you, she said before hanging up. At that moment, Izuku glared at Vlad, as if challenging him. So, you chose the path of death, he said slowly, stepping closer. I could say the same, Vlad replied, mirroring his movements. The tension in the classroom was palpable. Just as they seemed ready to throw punches, a tall, muscular man entered the room in an unusual manner, declaring, I'm coming in. Like a normal person. All might, everyone exclaimed in surprise. The tension between Izuku and Vlad dissipated, but a new, stronger tension filled the air. Escamilla, All Might said, locking eyes with Izuku. All Might. Izuku replied, both of them serious. The students sensed that something significant was about to unfold. They approached each other slowly, and then, in unison, they exclaimed, "Give me your autograph." Of course. All Might replied enthusiastically. Of course, you just. Izuku added, grinning. The entire class broke out in a cold sweat as the two exchanged autographs. Afterward, All Might began explaining the details of hero training, and the students excitedly rushed to change into their hero costumes before heading to the training field. You all look amazing, young ones. Now let's. All Might started, but Kendo interrupted, wait. Izuku is missing. Everyone turned to see him entering the room. All the girls blushed at the sight of Izuku's outfit, which was similar to Ibara's but revealed part of his chest, showcasing his well-defined muscles. They were captivated by his impressive physique. How can he be so handsome? They exclaimed, their cheeks flushed. With a bead of sweat on his brow, All Might said, well then, let's get started. After assigning the teams, the battles progressed until the final match arrived. Team C, Escamilla and Shiozaki as heroes. And Team B, Kendo and Tokage as villains. Go get ready, he instructed, and everyone nodded in agreement. The villains headed toward the bomb location while Izuku and Ibara stayed outside. So, do you have a plan? Ibara asked, her confusion evident and a light blush coloring her cheeks. Yeah. We're going after them, Izuku replied with a grin. Don't call them that, especially not in front of a girl. Ibara retorted, annoyance creeping into her voice. Seriously? He shot back, equally irritated. You're the one being annoying. Why you like this? You'll never make any friends, she said, still upset. I don't want people around me who don't get it. I can barely stand you guys, he replied, matching her tone. You're such an idiot, she huffed. Ugh, he sighed. Look, I'm going to activate my quirk. When I do, my personality changes a lot, so don't make fun of me afterward. Yeah, right? Ibara started, but fell silent, her mouth agape as she watched him transform into a glorious, majestic figure. Shall we begin, Miss Shiozaki? He asked, flashing a smile that made her blush even deeper. Weiss, she stammered, her cheeks flushed. He's so handsome and he's even more polite. This is love at first sight. But how did he go from that to this? No, Ibara, focus. What are you thinking? Even though he's really sweet, she thought, still blushing. Let's go, he said, beaming. To be continued. Ibara was the most flushed of all, having just seen the majestic figure beside her. She had to rein herself in, despite the urge to throw herself at him. Then, shall we, Miss Shiozaki? He asked, prompting her to nod, still blushing. As they entered the building, the first thing they noticed was a pair of eyes on the ceiling. Hello, Ichiro's. Setsuna stammered, her face bright red at the sight of Izuku. Oh, Miss Tokage. I apologize for what I'm about to do, but I have no choice. I'm on Miss Shiozaki's team, and you need to help her win. Please forgive me, he said, bowing slightly. In that moment, everyone watched as the green-haired boy's eyes lit up before dimming again. They thought his attack had failed, but they were left in shock as part of his body separated, just like Setsuna's. Ability. Copied, he said, then quickly lunged toward Tokage's neck, striking before she had a chance to react. Setsuna fell unconscious to the ground while he reassembled himself. Awesome! Ibara exclaimed, surprised. What's your quirk? She asked, curiosity shining in her eyes. I call it Divine Eyes, he replied with a smile. It allows me to copy any quirk as long as I have knowledge of the user. So I'm a copy of the original user but with my intelligence enhanced, he explained, grinning widely, which made her blush. That's so cool, she said, smiling back at him. Let's keep going, she added, still flustered, and Izuku nodded. They climbed until they found the bomb room, where Kendo was monitoring the situation. Escamilla? She exclaimed, surprised and blushing heavily. Miss Kendo, he said, smiling, which made her blush even more. I think you should handle her, Shiozaki. You're in training too, right? I don't want you to get hurt, but you need to fight as well, he said, smiling at both girls, making them blush while Ibara nodded. At that moment, Izuku simply sat on the floor to watch the battle unfold. Ibara quickly used the vines from her hair to try to immobilize Kendo, but Kendo, using her enlarged hands, managed to cut through the thorns aimed at her. I see you're strong, huh? Kendo said, freeing herself from the thorns with some difficulty. Yeah, looks like you are too. Ibara replied, sending more thorns her way. After a while, both girls were exhausted until time's up. The villains win, All Might announced over the loudspeakers. At that moment, Kendo and Ibara ceased their fighting, both on the verge of collapse when they felt a feather gently lift them by their costumes. You must be really tired, huh? You did great, Miss Shiozaki. You'll be a fantastic heroine, Izuku said with a smile as he began to walk away. As he carried them with his wings, both girls fell unconscious. He then descended and found Setsuna half awake. Recognizing her exhaustion, he decided to take her with him as well. Afterward, he brought them to the infirmary and returned to join the others. Once All Might had discussed everyone's strengths and weaknesses, they headed back to the locker rooms. Izuku deactivated his quirk, allowing his sarcastic and playful personality to resurface. He spotted Yui, who hugged him possessively while several girls looked on. Together, they made their way to the infirmary to check on their classmates. Upon entering, they found that everyone was waking up. Izuku simply sat down next to Ibara, waiting for her to regain consciousness. Moments later, she did. Ibara looked around, confusion etched on her face. Where am I? She asked, staring at the white ceiling. You're in the infirmary, Izuku replied, chuckling softly. Escamilla. Yui? She said, her confusion deepening as she looked between them. What are you doing here? Izuku was worried about you, Yui interjected, her tone a mix of annoyance and jealousy. Hey, I wasn't worried about her. Izuku protested, his cheeks slightly flushed. I just wanted to apologize for how I treated you that day and to tell you that I think you're really amazing. Miss Shiozaki, he added, flashing a broad smile that made Ibara blush and Yui even more envious. Apology accepted, Ibara stammered, her cheeks turning red. Thank you for forgiving me, Izuku said, relief washing over him. Come on, Yui, before you scare her, he added, picking Yui up in a bridal carry, causing her to blush as he carried her away. Ibara watched them go, her heart racing. Izuku Escamilla. Why do you make me feel this way? She whispered to herself, her face slightly flushed. To be continued. At UA Academy, the green-haired boy walked through the hallways, recalling the previous night with Shoto and Bakugo. That night was wild. We really went overboard, he chuckled to himself. Lost in thought, he accidentally bumped into someone. Oh God. My back, he said, rubbing it. Watch where you're going, he added, a hint of annoyance creeping into his voice. But it was your fault, Reiko replied, equally annoyed. I don't have time for this, he said, turning to walk away. Yours. In vinegar, she shot back with a smirk, feeling victorious. Well, I'll take yours at 3 in the afternoon, at the Velarde Circus, while your dad applauds me. Idiot, he retorted, irritation creeping into his tone. Reiko was about to retaliate when Yui shouted, Izuku! She threw herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. What are you doing here alone with her? She asked, clearly upset. Nothing, Yui, he stammered, nervous under her gaze. See you later, Reiko, he said, waving goodbye as he hurried away with Yui on his back. You idiot! Reiko muttered as she walked away. After that strange encounter, Izuku continued toward the dorms, Yui still clinging to him. Ibara! Escamilla! Ibara called, catching up to them. Oh. Hi, Yui said coldly. Come on, Yui, don't be like that. Hi, idiot, Izuku greeted with a smile. You shouldn't talk to girls like that. Ibara scolded, giving him a light slap. Oh, come on, calm down, he said, rubbing his head. Hey, you need to stop calling girls that, Yui chimed in, tugging at his. You too, Jerry, he replied without thinking, then realized his mistake. CRP. What did I just say? He thought. panicking. Hey, let's solve this like adults, he suggested, looking at Yui. 3. You, please don't be like this. You know I say a lot of stupid things, he pleaded. 2. You, please no, he said, starting to feel desperate. 1. Let's go. She's going to take it out on me, he exclaimed, starting to run. Izuku sprinted down the hall, with Yui and Ibara chasing after him. For some reason, Yui managed to convince Ibara to join in the pursuit. They followed him all around the academy until he reached the dorms. Terrified, he dashed inside. The first thing he saw was Kendo eating. "Lock me in your arms," he shouted, panic evident in his voice. Kendo, not understanding, complied with his request, only to see Yui and Ibara entering through the door. "Where is he?" Yui said, her expression cold. Who? Kendo asked nervously. "Izuku." Ibara echoed, glancing around. "We don't know." "He ran up the stairs," Kendo said, her voice trembling. "What do you have in your hands?" Yui asked, approaching Kendo. "Monoma." "You know how he is," Kendo replied, sweating slightly. Everyone tensed as Monoma entered through the door. "Hey, did you see how crazy last night was?" he began, but noticed everyone staring at him. "What are you looking at?" he asked, confused. "Izuku," he heard from behind him. Breaking free from Kendo's grip, Izuku attempted to escape, but Yui grabbed his hair and tackled him to the ground. "What did you call me?" she demanded, her eyes icy. "Waiwi. You know about my condition," he stammered, trying to squirm away. "Verbal diarrhea doesn't even exist," she exclaimed, annoyed, but then her expression softened. "You deserve a punishment," she said, pulling him toward her room. Moments later, Yui emerged, a white liquid dripping from her mouth, while Izuku sat curled up in a corner, looking dazed. "Yorija, Izuku," he muttered, rocking back and forth. Everyone exchanged worried glances. What did she do to him? They wondered. After a while, they helped the green-haired boy to the couch, where he finally relaxed. For some reason, he couldn't remember what had happened with Yui. "I told you I can't remember," he said, a hint of annoyance in his voice. "Come on, try," Monoma urged. "What the hell? Just shut up," Izuku replied irritably. "No, you can't leave," he added, glancing over his shoulder. "Who are you talking to?" Yui asked, confused. But before she could reach him, Tetsu in his iron form, along with Monoma using Tetsu's quirk, formed a barrier around him. "Don't get near him, you violator," Monoma shouted, fear evident in his voice. "We'll defend him to the death," Tetsu declared, equally determined. But everyone noticed Yui's cold, shadowed expression, which sent a chill through the boys, causing them to back off. "What cowards!" Izuku laughed, shaking his head. "What idiot," he said, annoyed. "Crazy BSTD," Reiko muttered, somewhat irritated. "It's my quirk that wants to come out to meet you," he exclaimed, making faces. "Oh, fine, how annoying," he added, exasperated. At that moment, everyone watched as the green-haired boy's wings reappeared, just like during hero training. "Wow," he exclaimed, his surprise evident. "You guys are my teammates?" His excitement was contagious as everyone nodded in agreement. "Wow, there are so many of you." He approached Reiko, a smile spreading across his face. "You're really pretty, Miss Yanagi," he complimented. Thank you," she replied, her cheeks flushing. "Where is she?" "Where is she?" he said, scanning the room. "Yui," he called out, his smile widening as he threw himself into a hug, pressing his cheek against hers. "I missed you so much." "Izuku," he continued, "I don't get to go out very often, but it's good to see you again." There was something peculiar about the green-haired boy. He wasn't a different person, just a different personality. He believed he was someone entirely distinct from his usual self, convinced that two souls inhabited the same body, even though they were fundamentally the same. "I missed you too, Izu," Yui said, gently stroking his hair. "Oh, I think it's time for me to go," he said, his smile unwavering. "It was a pleasure meeting you all, my friends. I love you all. And he loves you too. Treat him well. He's never had friends besides Yui. He doesn't know how to behave around you, but I know he'll manage, he added. Everyone was taken aback, as they had assumed the green-haired boy was the type to be surrounded by friends. They nodded, smiling in agreement. "Oh, goodbye," Izuku said, and everyone watched as his wings gradually faded away, returning him to his normal demeanor. To be continued. Izuku, hey, you idiot. Yes, you, the one reading this. Who do you want to be the first couple? Yui. Ibara. Reiko. Izuku, Happy New Year. May all your wishes come true because you're the best thing in this world. I love you. Also vote. If not, you'll end up with Agrippino's pine tree. Whoever you vote for will be the first couple. If you want, vote for someone else, and if they get multiple votes, they'll go into the HR. Tough luck for those who don't vote. They're missing out, smiley face. To be continued. Chapter end. It was a new day, and our favorite green-haired boy stood in front of the 1H dorms alongside Bakugo and Todoroki. What? Flashback. Izuku, so. Your babies are everything to you? He asked, looking at a pink-haired girl. May, that's right. I would be thrilled if you used one for your show, she replied excitedly. Izuku, wait, where are you from? He asked, bewildered. Why do you have so many kids? He exclaimed in shock. May, no, you're mistaken. My babies are my inventions, she clarified with a big smile. Izuku, oh I see. So what would you do if someone ruined one of your babies? He asked, still confused. May, I'd be very upset, she said, her expression suddenly serious. Izuku, he murmured, deep in thought. And flashback. Bakugo, so with the push, you'll destroy an invention just to see what happens? He asked, excitement in his voice. Todoroki, and the moment you come down, we start running, he added as Izuku nodded. Izuku, yes. Today, gentlemen, we challenge death, he declared with a grin. Bakugo, but why? I mean, what's the point? He questioned, trying to reflect. Izuku, for the story, he replied, still smiling. Todoroki, works for me, he said with a shrug, and Bakugo nodded in agreement. Izuku, okay, we need to hurry. Classes have already started, and we're here like idiots, wondering why we're not there when only the support course had vacation, he said mockingly. Todoroki, well then, ready. Aim, he instructed, moving a pillar of ice that functioned as a catapult. Fire, he shouted, watching as Bakugo, with a powerful explosion, fell with all his strength, sending the green-haired boy flying through the window of a certain pink inventor. Bakugo, get ready to start running, he warned as Todoroki nodded. As Izuku crashed through the pink-haired girl's window, he saw her working on her inventions. She turned around at the noise, but it was too late. The green-haired boy had collided with her creations, causing them to explode. He got up with a smile, but, May, what did you do? She asked, her gaze so cold it froze him in place. Izuku, oh, he yelled, starting to run. As he dashed away, May, seemingly possessed, began to float, her eyes wide with fury as she glared at him. Izuku, what the heck? He shouted, terrified. As he bolted out the door, Bakugo and Todoroki watched in horror at the frantic inventor. Without time to laugh, they took off running in a panic. The three of them sprinted through the UA courtyard, chased by May. Bakugo, that was a bad idea, he shouted in fear. Todoroki, she's going to kill us, he yelled, equally terrified. They quickly ran into classroom 1B, where they found Vlad teaching the students. Class B, Escamilla, they said in unison. Vlad, oh no, you're in serious trouble, he said, somewhat annoyed but also amused. But everyone fell silent as they felt the pressure in the air. Vlad, what is that? He asked nervously. Everyone stared in shock as the green-haired boy ran his hands across his face until he wore a familiar expression. May burst into the classroom, but all her anger transformed into excitement upon seeing that face, the celestial face adored by all. May, Cheyenne, she exclaimed, thrilled. Sir, please sign my forehead, she said, lifting her hair. Everyone held back the urge to hug Izuku. With that face, who wouldn't? But they knew it was him, so they restrained themselves. However, Todoroki and Bakugo only calmed down when they saw May's anger dissipate. Izuku, That's right, baby. I'm Cheyenne, the most handsome being on Earth. May, prove it. Izuku, I'd give up everything for you to stay. My creed, my past, my religion. I sing this. May exclaimed, oh my gosh, her excitement bubbling over. Yeah, babe, how about we calm down and have a little fun? Izuku replied, playfully nudging her. In that moment, he relaxed his expression, easing the tension in the room and causing a few girls to blush, as many considered the green-haired boy quite handsome. It was no wonder he was ranked as one of the most attractive men on Earth, second only to the incredibly powerful Cheyenne. He simply walked over to Yui. Hug me, Yuja, he said, trembling slightly. Yui, annoyed by the nickname but noticing his unease, decided to give him a hug. You three better tell me what happened right now, Vlad said, looking at the boys. Sure, what happened was. And that's how we rescued Bakugo from some people who thought he was one of them, Izuku explained, a big smile on his face. I remember that day like it was just 4 days ago, Bakugo said, grinning. Dude, that was 4 days ago, Todoroki replied sarcastically. Oh no way, you're right. Ha, good times, Bakugo said nostalgically. At that moment, everyone had a bead of sweat on their foreheads, but just then, the bell rang to signal the end of class. Todoroki took Mei to his room, but feeling lazy, he left her at the entrance and walked away. Meanwhile, Izuku was sweeping the 1B dorms. It's just me, he muttered, annoyed. Screw you, Nizu, screw you, stupid broom, he exclaimed, tossing it aside. Ouch, my eye, a voice echoed from a distance. Oh, come on, turn into metal and stop whining, Izuku said irritably as he sat down on the couch. At that moment, someone approached him. Hey, scum, Ibara said nervously. Oh yeah. What's up, idiot? He replied calmly. What did I tell you about calling girls that? She said, giving him a light slap. Oh, sorry, he said, rubbing his arm. Forget it. I need your help, she said shyly. Depends, he replied, looking at his nails. There's a guy harassing me, and since you're my friend, I wanted to see if... Suddenly, everyone dropped to their knees, feeling the pressure emanating from Izuku. Nobody touches my friends, he said seriously. Do you know where he is? He asked, annoyance creeping into his voice. His name is Nito. Izuku began to walk toward Monoma, scaring him. Hey man, it's not me. Shizuki, I know I owe you money, but come on, it's not for this. I'll pay you. Monoma said, frightened. You're dead, Izuku said, ready to confront him. His name is Nito Kurwa. Ibara shouted, stopping Izuku's advance. In that instant, Izuku moved within human speed, rushing out and returning with a boy in his grasp. This is him, he said, annoyance evident in his voice. Ibara nodded, a bit scared. Listen here, Izuku said, looking at the boy. If you ever go near Ibara again, I swear I'll make you regret it. Got it? The boy remained silent. Did you understand? He shouted, making the boy nod in fear. Now get lost, he said, tossing the boy aside. Sighing, he turned to Ibara. Are you feeling better now? Why yeah, she replied, her cheeks flushed as she ignored the nickname. This goes for you girls, he said, pointing at the offended girls. If anyone harasses you or worse, touches you, let me know so I can take care of it, he said with a serious expression. The girls nodded quickly, a mix of fear and admiration in their eyes, knowing the green-haired boy would defend them. Oh, but if anyone touches Yui, I won't just confront him. I'll make sure he regrets it, he said, starting to laugh. Yui blushed at this. She was the most important person to Izuku, and this made her feel happy and excited. Well, he said, returning to his normal demeanor. You all wash up, he instructed as he started to head upstairs. At that moment, Yui quickly ran after him, eager to be close to him. All the boys from 1B watched as Izuku left, and the girls were blushing. Maybe he's not so bad, they said with smiles, while the girls continued to blush. To be continued. It was a new day at UA Academy. After enduring a stressful week of classes, the students returned from the weekend feeling refreshed. However, they were informed that there would be a surprise for the first-year students, so they headed to the auditorium. As Class B entered their classroom, they noticed Izuku was absent, but they decided not to dwell on it. One girl, however, radiated an aura of frustration. "He's definitely cheating on me with another girl," Yui exclaimed, her distress evident. "DMN Izuku, he doesn't respect our future relationship." Her icy demeanor made it clear she was not in a good mood. Minoma tried to calm her down. "Eche. But you're not even dating." "But we will be. He can't be cheating on me," Yui insisted, her emotions intensifying. Their conversation was interrupted as Principal Nizu entered the room. "Well, young ones, as we know, the first-year students have faced many challenges so far. To help relieve some stress, your classmate Izuku Midoriya has volunteered to put on a comedy show for you." Excitement filled the room. Even though they saw Izuku every day, it was different to see him on stage, and they eagerly made their way to the auditorium, where they found Class A. The girls sat on one side and the boys on the other. Just as they settled in, the lights dimmed, and the spotlight illuminated the stage. Izuku greeted the audience. "What's up, everyone?" Music blared from the speakers, and the crowd began to applaud. "Honestly, I feel a bit weird. I know all of you, and I'm doing a show for you. It feels like when I practiced with my mother," he said, picking up a glass that was on stage. A wave of sadness washed over the audience as they remembered that his mother had passed away. "But hey, it's all good," he continued with a smile. "I can't say the same about the safety of this school," he added, prompting laughter. "So, I'd like to tell you about the time I set a pool on fire." He grinned. "It turns out I was at a party with a friend, and in our foolishness, we started drinking. This friend of mine has a quirk that creates explosions. I call him the Exploder," he said, eliciting laughter from the crowd. "In our drunken state, we thought, if we pour gasoline in the pool and you throw an explosion, will the water catch fire?" He continued, "Yes, my friends, when you're drunk, you can be foolish, but we were sober fools. So, imagine how dumb we were when we were drunk. What happened next?" He paused as laughter filled the room. "The birthday boy's mom told us, you can jump in the pool. Are you with me?" He looked at the audience, who nodded in agreement. "Okay." Discreetly, I started pouring gasoline into the pool without saying anything, thinking nothing would happen. Once I finished, I signaled to Bakugo, and the pool caught fire. The audience erupted in laughter. Bakugo and I took pictures while we laughed. It was pretty obvious to our friend's mom, and she figured out it was us. And well, that's what happened. Now I'll tell you how we saved Bakugo from some guys who wanted to take him away," he said, and laughter bubbled up again. "So, what happened was, with a friend, who, by the way, I left sterile," he joked, sharing a laugh with Bakugo, while Todoroki looked serious. "Don't get mad, you idiot," he said, glancing at Shoto. But it turns out that the three of us were being idiots, and Bakugo came up with an idea. "Hey, what if we dress up as what we want to be when we grow up?" I know it sounds childish, but we had nothing else to do. Shoto came out in a sailor suit. "I say he wants to be a cosplayer," he said, making everyone laugh. I came out in a ridiculous outfit. He winked at the audience. At that moment, everyone understood. Some girls blushed, Yui looked annoyed, and the boys laughed. And then this idiot decided to come out dressed in traditional attire. "For those who don't know, it's a full-body garment worn in some cultures," he said, prompting more laughter. And it just so happened that some people were flying by in a helicopter at that exact moment. We got confused when we saw a ladder drop down, but we reacted too late when they took him with them. The audience laughed again. At that moment, I had no choice but to follow them with my wings. Yes, there you see me flying behind a helicopter. Bakugo managed to jump from the helicopter, but I couldn't catch him, so he crashed to the ground. And he looked pretty messed up. "We took him, treated him, and now he's as good as new," he said, while laughter continued. And so the green-haired boy continued his show. Izuku concluded, "And as a final point, I want to sing you a song. It was an infidelity on my part, I know, folks. I feel really bad because the girl I like doesn't even know about this." At that moment, Yui summoned her emotions, ready to confront the situation. "I must be the girl he likes," she said seriously. "But who is that other girl?" she asked with a determined smile. Everyone watched in anticipation as the green-haired boy began to play the guitar beautifully and started to sing. It was a quiet night. I walked without wandering. He found that person, and when he saw them, he just knew they were special. The music became lively. I bought them a few drinks to kick things off. We started drinking and chatting. They had a very warm personality, and I liked them, so I took them to my room. I even woke up with a headache the next day. Then he began to arpeggiate faster and suddenly stopped. I met them at UA and their name was Bakugo, he shouted as everyone began to laugh. He finished singing, "My name is Izuku Escamilla. Thank you so much, I love you all, goodbye," he said as he left the stage, but he tripped. "That's how you walk, idiots," he joked, making everyone laugh even harder. After that, the auditorium lights came on, and everyone started applauding for the green-haired showman. He came out again and took a bow. With a smile, he stepped down from the stage and headed toward his friends. "That was really good. My stomach still hurts," Setsuna said, still laughing. "Well, coming from you guys, I'm glad you enjoyed the show," he replied with a big smile. "Ah," he yawned, "I'm sleepy." "Yui," he called out as he saw Yui running toward him. "What's up?" she asked, looking at Izuku. "I'm going to go to sleep," he informed her. "Come on," she said with a slight smile. "Why did I even tell you if I knew you'd say that?" "Well, let's go," he said as Yui climbed onto his back. Okay, he added as he started walking with Yui on his back, under the jealous gaze of two people. "Are you sure you want to try?" Kendo asked, looking at her companion. "Yes. I'll ask him." "On a date," Ibara said, blushing as she watched Izuku walk away. To be continued. Chapter End. It was a calm morning at UA. "Good morning, Yi," Izuku said, gently stroking her hair as she nestled against his chest. Yui blushed at the feeling of the boy she liked so close. "What's up, Izuku?" she asked, looking confused. "Nothing, it's just that. I love having you by my side," he said, planting a kiss on her forehead. "And you know I'll always be here for you," she replied, snuggling closer to him. "Today, I'm going to confess my feelings," she thought, determined. "Thank you," he said, continuing to slide her hair. After a moment, they both decided to get up and change. Izuku changed in front of Yui, and Yui changed in front of Izuku. They were used to this since they had even bathed together as kids. Once they finished changing, they went downstairs where everyone was eating. Some girls blushed at the sight of Izuku, including Ibara, while Reiko had a slight blush as well. "You guys are unbelievable. You didn't wait for us, Jess," he said, pretending to be sad. "Actually," Reiko said, pointing to 2 plates of food already prepared for him and Yui. "Oh, I take back what I said, you guys are the best," he said, sitting down to eat. "Hey, I didn't know you played the guitar so well. How did you learn?" Setsuna asked, surprised, as everyone nodded in agreement. "Oh, I just wanted to include it in the show, and I watched some videos of live guitar and went for it," he said, causing everyone to break into a sweat. "That really impressed me," Kendo said, laughing a little. "But I have just one question. How do you come up with so many great stories?" Tetsutetsu asked, surprised. At that moment, Izuku just started laughing. "Well, there's the thing. They're all real," he said, still laughing. "When did you jump out of a plane without a parachute?" Minoma asked. "Real. When you were kidnapped to put on a show for the mafia?" Reiko asked, her curiosity piqued. "That happened 3 years ago," he replied with a laugh. "When did the Christians praise you, thinking you were a redeeming angel because you were using your quirk?" Ibara inquired. "Yeah, that actually happened 4 weeks ago," he chuckled. "Wow," Kinoko said, clearly impressed. "How is it possible that so much happens to you?" "Well, it just happens, man," he said, still laughing. "Come on, Ibara, this is your chance," she thought, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks. "Midoriya, she began, but her words were cut short by the sudden opening of the door. Everyone turned in surprise as the 2 strongest members of Class A entered. "UJRK!" Todoroki exclaimed, followed closely by Bakugo. "We have a great idea for today," Bakugo said, a broad smile on his face. "I'm all ears, Yi," Izuku replied, his excitement palpable. As you know, you can turn into anyone, right? Todoroki said, his tone serious. What are you, a mind reader? Izuku laughed. What if you pretended to be an adult and bought some drinks? Bakugo suggested eagerly. I don't know. That's illegal and I'll give you 10 yen, Todoroki said, pulling out a bill. Where do I sign? Izuku replied, snatching the bill from Todoroki's hand. A wave of nervousness swept through the group. Hey, don't you think you're a bit young for? Oh, they're gone, Kendo remarked, watching the three of them dash out. Why didn't you stop them? She asked, turning to Yui. Sorry, but I like to take care of him when he's had a bit to drink. He's really sweet, Yui said, her eyes sparkling with affection. I guess tomorrow's the day, Ibara thought, feeling a mix of sadness and determination to ask the green-haired boy out. Meanwhile, Izuku, Bakugo, and Todoroki stood outside a store. Well, Izuku said, adopting Aizawa's serious expression. Wish me luck, he added before stepping inside. Hey Shota, back so soon? Did you run out of what I gave you yesterday? The cashier asked, confusion evident on his face. Yesterday? Izuku replied, equally bewildered. Oh right, I forgot that stuff wipes your memory, the cashier laughed. Well, I got more today and it's stronger. What do you want? Some drinks. Izuku said, feeling a flutter of nerves. What? Is your grandma coming today? The cashier joked. Yes. Izuku said, handing over the money. Okay, here you go, the cashier said, handing him 2 cartons. But whenever you want more, you know I have the best stuff, he added with a wink. Okay. Izuku said, leaving the store. What happened? Todoroki asked, looking at Izuku expectantly. Let's go, Sarcasm. Better to run here than to get caught, Izuku said, leading Bakugo and Todoroki away. They soon arrived at the academy and made their way to a hidden forest, away from prying eyes, to start drinking. Did you know Aizawa does some crazy stuff? Izuku said, laughing. No. How are you so smart, man? We wouldn't know that in 10 years, Bakugo replied sarcastically. That guy must have more surprises than anyone, Todoroki added, and everyone burst into laughter. After finishing the 2 cartons of drinks, the boys were completely tipsy. Each one headed back to their respective dorms. Izuku stumbled into his dorm, the effects of the alcohol evident. He approached Yui slowly, under the watchful eyes of his classmates. Yui was excited, she knew what was coming next, but she didn't expect Ibara to step in front of him. Izuku, you're back. I had to tell you something. I wanted to know if... Ibara started, but her voice trailed off as she blushed, feeling the green-haired boy kiss her. You know, a raspberry. 4 is an even number, she said seriously. But not a word to anyone, she added, glancing at Kendo. Kendo replied, oh, no one, making a face as if zipping his mouth shut. After a moment, everyone watched as Ibara came down wearing a dress that fell just below her ankles and casual shoes. Are we going? She asked, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. Yeah. Let's go, Izuku replied, also feeling a bit flustered at the sight of Ibara. With that, they left the dorms and headed straight to their date. Where are we going? Ibara stammered, still blushing. Anywhere you want, he said with a smile that made her cheeks flush even more. We could go to the movies, she suggested, her face still red. So what are we waiting for? He said, taking Ibara's hand, which turned bright red at his touch. They walked hand in hand, unaware that a group of paparazzi was following them. Just as they were about to enter the cinema, they were intercepted. What the heck? Izuku exclaimed, startled as Ibara hid behind him. Mr. Escamilla. An interview. One cameraman shouted, moving a microphone close to Izuku's face. Hey, that's not a toy, back off, he said, pushing the microphone away. He noticed how nervous Ibara was, trembling slightly. Listen, you guys, get lost. I'm fed up with this. I just want to go out normally with her, so stop messing with me and leave us alone, he said, annoyance creeping into his voice. Mr. Escamilla, show some respect. Do you know what the critics will say about you? Another cameraman pressed. I don't care about the critics. I'm a comedian, not some actor living off that nonsense, he retorted, pushing the camera away and taking Ibara's hand to start running. After a while, they managed to lose the press, but unfortunately, they missed the movie. I'm sorry this happened because of me, he said, feeling down for ruining their date. I think I had a lot of fun, she said, a light laugh escaping her lips. Really? I tried hard to make this date good because I saw how much it cost you to ask me out. I don't even know why. I'm just another idiot, and I forgot that I'm a famous comedian. I finally made friends, and I ruined this date that I was also excited about, and now He couldn't finish as Ibara silenced him with a kiss on the cheek. This is the best date I've ever had. And my first, she said, laughing a bit. And even though escaping from the press wasn't in my plans, it was entertaining, she continued, still giggling. But well, it's getting dark. I think it's better to head back, she said with a smile as she took Izuku's hand to leave. This isn't over yet, he said, stopping Ibara in her tracks. What do you? But she fell silent, her cheeks flushing deeply as she felt herself being lifted by the green-haired boy. Spreading her wings under the starlit sky, she began to fly. Ibara's eyes sparkled with stars as she gazed at the night lights, her cheeks flushed. She looked up and blushed even more at the sight of Izuku's appealing face, smiling down at her. She simply smiled back. I like you, she whispered with a smile. Did you say something, Miss Shiozaki? He asked politely. No, nothing, Izuku. Nothing, she thought, blushing and smiling as she admired the night lights. To be continued. The next morning, the green-haired boy woke up peacefully in his room. After his date with Ibara the previous day, they had gone out to eat, and for reasons he couldn't quite understand, she had given him a kiss on the cheek before running off, her cheeks flushed. Just girl stuff, he thought to himself. Still feeling sleepy, he attempted to rouse himself but noticed a weight resting on him. Good morning, Yui, he said calmly. Good morning, Izuku, she replied, snuggling closer to his chest. How did it go yesterday? She asked, a hint of jealousy in her voice. Oh, really well, he responded with a slight smile, which made Yui turn her head away with a pout. Come on, don't be like that, he said, gently stroking her hair. You know I care about you a lot, he added, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. Izuku, I love you, she declared, hugging him possessively. I love you too, Yui, he stammered, feeling a blush creep across his cheeks. But I'm not the only one, she said, looking up at him. What do you mean? I mean, Ibara is also in love with you, she said, causing Izuku's face to redden even more. Wait. She is too, he stuttered. Yes. I've liked you, Izuku, since we were kids. Please be my boyfriend and Ibara's too, she said earnestly. Sure, why not? He replied, a bit flustered but trying to keep the mood light. Great, she exclaimed, her smile brightening. I'll talk to her. Meet us on the rooftop tonight. We'll be waiting for you there, she said, and he nodded in agreement. For now, she added, leaning in to give him a kiss on the lips, which he returned. Let's sleep a bit more, she suggested, settling back against his chest while he continued to slide her hair. After a little while, Izuku was the first to wake up. He looked down to see Yui still sleeping peacefully, a smile on her face. He couldn't help but smile to himself, thinking, who would have imagined that you loved me too? Just like I love you. Unbeknownst to him, Yui was awake, pretending to be asleep to tease him, and the sweet words he spoke made her blush. So, what should we do today? He asked, looking a bit confused. Yui, still feigning sleep, replied, How about we just stay here and do nothing? She wrapped her arms around him, pulling him closer. If that's what you want, he said, sinking into her embrace. Do you like them? She asked, a slight smile and blush gracing her cheeks. They're very comfortable, he grinned. Unexpectedly, Yui playfully stretched her arms out, inviting him to hug her. Without hesitation, he nestled against her, and she gently stroked his hair. I wish I could stay like this forever, he said, giving her a playful squeeze. You pervert, she laughed lightly. I'm sorry, but you're just so appealing, he replied, pulling her closer. I'm your girlfriend, right? You can touch me however you want, she said, smiling and blushing slightly. Although Ibara will be too. But I'm not sure if she'll let you do the same, she added with a laugh. Let's wait and see, he chuckled. After that moment, they both drifted off to sleep again. Yui smiled, knowing she would finally be with Izuku, and she didn't mind sharing him. When they woke up again, they decided to take a shower before heading downstairs for breakfast. They found Ibara, who had also just woken up. Izuku and Yui sat next to her, causing Ibara to blush at their closeness. Good morning, Ibara, Izuku said calmly. Gigi, good morning, Izuku. Yui, she stammered, glancing nervously at Yui. Can you step out for a moment, Izuku? I want to talk to Ibara, Yui said. He nodded and left the room. Well, now that we're alone, why do you like Izuku? Yui asked, making Ibara blush. What? I don't like him. Ibara replied, her face turning bright red. Well, if you say so. I was going to share him with you, but if you don't want to. Yui teased. I do like him. Ibara shouted, her blush deepening. I knew it. Yui said with a smile. So tell me, are you willing to share him with me? Just anything to be with him. Ibara admitted, still blushing. Then we need to set some rules, Yui said, and Ibara nodded. First and foremost, never be unfaithful, she said seriously. Ibara nodded with determination. Second, you need to make it clear if you give him permission to touch you, Yui added, causing Ibara to blush again. I wouldn't mind, she admitted, her cheeks flushed. I'll take that as a yes. And finally, if another girl wants to join, she has to go through our approval first. Understood? Yui said, extending her hand. Understood. Ibara replied, shaking Yui's hand. Good. Then we'll tell him on the rooftop tonight, Yui said as Ibara nodded. Oh. Izuku, you can come back now, she shouted, but no one entered. I guess he went off to do something, she said with a smile. So, should we eat? She asked, earning a nod from Ibara. Meanwhile, Izuku was having a different kind of morning. I already told you guys, I don't want to die, he said nervously. Come on, nerd, just ask her to create a rumba. And when she asks why, just tell her. So you can rumba her to hell. Bakugo laughed. Do it or you're a coward. Todoroki challenged him. I'm not afraid of any nonsense. Let's do it. Izuku said seriously, heading toward the 1A dorms with Bakugo and Todoroki. When they arrived, they found the entire common room filled with students eating breakfast. They were a bit surprised to see Izuku from the 1B dorms but quickly got over it. As they greeted him, he leaned in to whisper to Todoroki and Bakugo. Get ready to run at any moment, he said seriously. Bakugo and Todoroki nodded, and the latter pulled out a camera. Nervously, Izuku approached Momo, who was eating. Miss Yaoyorozu, he said seriously. What do you want? Don't think I'll forgive you for that time, she replied, annoyance evident in her voice. Oh, can you create a rumba? He asked, as Todoroki and Bakugo struggled to contain their laughter. Why do you want a rumba? She asked, confused. So you can rumba. To hell, he said, prompting Todoroki and Bakugo to burst into laughter. But they quickly fell silent when they saw Momo conjure an AK. Oh, see, Izuku said, frightened. Better to run here than die here. Let's go, you idiots, he shouted, sprinting with Bakugo and Todoroki close behind. Momo started shooting at them, and they dodged the bullets, though Izuku cried out in pain when one hit him. Bakugo and Todoroki quickly picked him up to carry him away faster. Ah, a minute, I see darkness, I'm so scared of the dark, he exclaimed, panicking. Dan, you dumb girl, he yelled, only making Momo angrier. You're in trouble, she said, reloading. Later, Izuku found himself in the infirmary with Recovery Girl, a bullet lodged in his backside, while Bakugo and Todoroki nursed their own injuries. What do you think, young man? She asked seriously. Am I going to be left without a butt? He replied, trying to lighten the mood. No. I've lost the will to live, she replied, shaking her head. Izuku sighed. Well, as they say, let's see if the situation is okay. Recovery, with a serious expression, added, I want to know the reason, the motive, the circumstances behind why you did something so reckless. Don't you think? Are you all foolish? Can't you have a single peaceful day without doing something that harms others and yourselves just for your own amusement? Izuku shrugged, just for the story. What time is it? Bakugo glanced at his watch. It's 8 p.m. I'm out of here, Izuku exclaimed, activating his wings and breaking through a wall in the process. What a mess. Recovery muttered, watching him go. Izuku flew at full speed to the balcony of Building 1B, where he spotted Yui and Ibara waiting for him. As he descended, they both blushed, captivated by his angelic appearance. Sorry girls. I got delayed with some work, but I'm here now, he said, landing gracefully. W.I. Izuku. W.E. Ibara stammered. Yui took a deep breath and confessed, we want to be your girlfriends. We want to share you. We want you to be our boyfriend and give both of us the same affection. Oh, okay, Izuku replied, a smile spreading across his face. Are really that easy? Ibara asked, her eyes wide with surprise. I don't have much to think about. I want both of you and yes, I want to be with you too. He leaned in and kissed Ibara and Yui gently. Wow. Today was such an appealing and peaceful day, Yui said, leaning against Izuku's right shoulder, while Ibara mirrored her on his left. Just peaceful. Izuku agreed. So, are we going to sleep? Ibara asked. Both girls nodded in agreement. Izuku spread one wing, lifting Ibara and carrying Yui like princesses, causing them both to blush. Let's go to sleep, he said softly. To be continued. The next morning, Izuku gently stroked the hair of the two girls, and as they felt his touch, they stirred awake. Good morning, Izuku, they said, smiling at him. Good morning, Izuku, Ibara added, clinging to his arm. Hey, how did you sleep? He asked calmly. After what happened yesterday. Really well, she replied, initially blushing but then breaking into a silly smile. You were quite rough. I liked it, Yui said, hiding her face in Izuku's chest. I'm sorry, but I can't help myself when I have such beauties in front of me, he said, kissing both of them. We love you, Ibara said, her cheeks turning pink. I love you too, he replied with a smile. So, shall we go down for breakfast? He asked, earning nods from both girls. The three of them changed and headed downstairs, finding the place empty. Everyone was still asleep. Izuku started cooking for them while Yui and Ibara sat down. Once he finished preparing the dishes, they all ate together, chatting and laughing. Izuku rehearsed a monologue he had prepared for YouTube titled, My Last Monologue. He had decided to stop being a comedian and told director Nizu that he would focus on being a full-time student now, no longer just gathering stories to tell. He had made good friends, reconnected with others, and met someone special. With a smile, he glanced at Ibara and Yui. What's up, Izuku? Yui asked, confused. Why are you smiling? Ibara added calmly. Girls, I love you, he said, beaming. The green-haired boy felt like he had a family at UA. He had 2 girlfriends, and while it was a bit unusual, it was something he could get used to. To be continued. Say it, Ibara. Izuku urged. No way. Did you really believe it? She said, reading a paper. No, sweetheart, it needs to be more natural. More energetic. Why yeah, she replied, blushing at the nickname. Say it, Ibara. No way, did you really believe it? She shouted excitedly. Like this. Come here, you deserve a reward, he said, leaning in for a kiss. And why are you saying all that? Yui asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. I tricked my followers into thinking I was quitting comedy and that this was my last monologue because I wanted to be a full-time student at this academy. Yes, I will be, but it will be my last monologue of the month. The director allowed me to keep performing my shows, he explained, laughing. Hey, don't you think you went too far with your followers? Many might even stop following you, Ibara cautioned, playfully tugging at his ear. Nah, I don't think so. They know how I am, he replied, still chuckling. Oh. So what are we doing today? Yui began to ask, but her question was interrupted as 2 people walked in through the door. Idiot, are you really going to quit comedy? Bakugo said, looking genuinely concerned. "Oh no, idiot, it's just a bad joke," Izuku laughed. Then everyone watched as Todoroki punched Izuku lightly on the arm. "And why did you do that, idiot?" Izuku asked, feigning annoyance. "For being such a Todoroki replied, equally annoyed. "We told you they wouldn't take it well," Yui reminded the green-haired boy. "Yeah, I know," he said, still laughing. "So what are we doing today?" he asked, shrugging. "Party," Bakugo suggested, a grin spreading across his face. "I'm in," Izuku and Todoroki said in unison, both grinning. Izuku glanced at the girls for a moment, and they nodded calmly. "Yes. I love you," he said, kissing them both. "I'll be back later," he added, running off with Bakugo and Todoroki. "Why did we let him go?" Ibara wondered, watching the green-haired boy disappear. "He needs to relax. Remember, he has to perform a show for the whole school in 2 days," Yui said, prompting Ibara to nod. "But when he comes back, one of us has to be the first to cross paths with him," Ibara suggested, her expression tender. "If not, we'll kill him," Yui said with a playful smile, a determined glint in her eyes. Meanwhile, Izuku sat on a bench in a park with Bakugo and Todoroki, sipping drinks. "So, ready for the hate?" Todoroki asked, laughing. "I don't think so. It was just an innocent joke," Izuku replied nervously. "Innocent? You made all your followers sad. I recommend you post a video saying it was a lie as soon as possible," Bakugo advised seriously. "Yeah, I'm uploading it now, but it takes time," Izuku said, taking a sip of his drink. "Oh. Here's to your retirement from lies, you idiot," Todoroki said, raising his drink. "Cheers." Izuku and Bakugo echoed, clinking their drinks together. Time skip, 5 hours. The scene shifted to the green-haired boy walking, supported by Bakugo and Todoroki. The three of them were a bit tipsy, and somehow they managed to leave Izuku slumped at the entrance of the dorms while they collapsed at the entrance of their own. "Where could Izuku be? He's taking too long, don't you think?" Ibara said, worry creeping into her voice. "Let's wait for him for another hour, and if he doesn't come, we'll have to go look for him," Yui suggested, prompting Ibara to nod. Just then, they noticed a girl with gray hair approaching them. "Hey, where's Midoriya?" Reiko asked calmly. "Why are you looking for him?" Ibara replied with a sweet smile, though a hint of intensity lingered behind it. "I want to ask him out," Reiko said, trying to sound casual. Yui and Ibara exchanged a glance, a vein throbbing on their foreheads, and nodded in agreement. "We need to talk to you," Ibara said calmly, taking Reiko by the arm. "Why?" Reiko asked, her voice tinged with nervousness. "For something," Yui added, taking her by the other arm and guiding her toward a room. "Huh!" Reiko exclaimed, her eyes widening as she noticed the door closing behind her. An hour passed. Ibara, Yui, and Reiko emerged from the room. "Did you understand the terms?" Yui asked, a smile on her face. "Why yeah," Reiko replied, looking a bit dazed. "Thank you for trusting me to join you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Ibara responded, "That's fine. But for now, we need to go look for him. He hasn't shown up. He must be on a park bench somewhere, you know how he is. We'll talk to him tomorrow to see what he thinks, okay?" Reiko nodded in agreement. "All right, let's go." Yui said, "Be careful." Tetsu warned, his voice laced with concern. "At this hour, the streets are really dangerous." Minoma added, equally worried. "Yeah, don't worry." Ibara reassured them as she opened the door. She fell silent when she spotted the green-haired boy on the ground, his clothes partially torn and a bottle in his hand. "There he is," she sighed heavily. "Reiko, could you?" she prompted, and Reiko nodded. Using her quirk, Reiko lifted the green-haired boy. "Let's take him to the bathtub. A little cold water will help him," Yui suggested, and the others nodded in agreement. "Good night. We're going to bed now," she said calmly. "But it's only 6 o'clock. Minoma protested. "We're going to sleep now," Ibara said with a smile. "As you wish," Minoma replied, sounding a bit apprehensive. The girls took the green-haired boy to bathe him with cold water. However, Reiko felt anxious about how he might react. Would he accept her? Would he reject her? Only tomorrow would reveal the answer to that pressing question. To be continued. The green-haired boy woke up next to Ibara and Yui, stirring and inadvertently waking them as well. What the hell? There's been a glitch in the matrix. I don't remember getting here yesterday, he said, surprised. You don't remember? Yui asked, astonished. What do you remember from yesterday? Ibara inquired, her gaze fixed on him. I had my second beer. That's all I remember, he replied, confusion evident on his face. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit him, accompanied by nausea, and his body refused to respond. He gripped the girl's arms tightly. Izuku. What's wrong? Ibara asked, her voice filled with concern. Take me to the hospital, he said, staring blankly at the ceiling. Guys. Come quickly. Yui shouted, panic rising in her voice. At that moment, the entire Class 1B rushed in, their concern growing as they saw the green-haired boy. What happened to him? Reiko asked, alarmed. Take me to the hospital. And I have a show tomorrow. Izuku said, causing everyone to panic. What's wrong with you? Tetsu asked, pulling out his phone. I'll look up what you have. What hurts? He pressed, concern etched on his face. Everything. There's not a single part of me that doesn't hurt. I'm cold. But my face is sweating. My thermostat is broken. Izuku said, fear creeping into his voice. Oh God, I'm not getting out of this. Please take care of Ibara and Yui, he added, alarming the girls even further. This isn't good. It's cancer. At the very least, he said, terror evident in his eyes. I heard all over. I hear your voice amplified, and I don't know why I feel like crying, he confessed, sending the girls into a frenzy while the boys began to piece together what was happening. I mean, I'm not sad. But I could cry. This only heightened the girls' concern, while the boys started to chuckle. What are you laughing at? Yui snapped, irritated. Can't you see he's in trouble? Reiko added, equally annoyed. It's just that he's not really hurt. Tetsu said, laughing. I feel terrible, dude, how can you say that? Izuku replied, annoyed. Bro, you have a hangover. Monoma said, chuckling. Is this your first time having a hangover? He asked, confused. It better be the last, man. Izuku said, staring at the ceiling. So it's not serious? Ibara asked, relief washing over her. No, it's not serious. It's just what happens when you drink more than you can handle. Tetsu explained, still laughing. To cure a hangover, you have to drink again, he added, and everyone nodded, leaving the girls bewildered. What kind of stupid cure is that? Izuku exclaimed, thinking they were joking. Tetsu is right, man. The cure for a hangover is to drink again. But obviously not as much as you did the night before. How many did you have? 7, 8? Boys asked, puzzled. More or less, men. After the 6th, I stopped counting. Izuku admitted with a nervous smile. Then just have 2 more. Monoma suggested, making Izuku feel worse. With his head down, Izuku finally confessed, honestly, I only had 2. Are you serious? Tetsu and Monoma exclaimed, laughing uncontrollably. Stop it. You're making the baby cry. Ibara said, hugging Izuku and giving him a kiss. Then I don't know. Take 2 teaspoons or something. Away said, still laughing. DMN it. Izuku groaned, covering his eyes with one arm. I feel awful. DMN Bakugo. Din Todoroki. He muttered, somewhat annoyed. What do they have to do with this? Ibara asked, confused. Don't you remember they invited me to drink? Izuku said, causing the 3 girls to radiate an aura of pain. Oh, so that's it? Yui, Ibara, and Reiko said in unison, getting up. Where are you going? Izuku asked, bewildered. To pay them a little visit. Yui replied, a sweet look on her face that masked something darker. A little later, after a verbal, physical, and mental confrontation, Todoroki and Bakugo arrived at Izuku's room, both looking battered. Hey loser, what's wrong with you? Bakugo asked, startled to see the 3 girls behind them. He had 2 beers. And now he has a hangover. Monoma said, struggling to hold back his laughter. Seriously? Todoroki added, concern etched on his face. 2 beers, you DMN idiot? Bakugo mocked. Izuku replied sarcastically, sorry, I'm not trained for this. And what were you doing in high school? Bakugo asked, confused. Studying, you know. Studying. Izuku emphasized. Then just take a shot or two, Todoroki suggested, laughing. Is that really the remedy? Izuku asked, looking around as everyone nodded in agreement. Yui interjected, oh no. You're not taking him away again. We'll cure him with chicken soup and figure out the rest later. You've done enough damage already, she said, playfully pinching Izuku's cheeks. I'd kiss you right now, but I can't even move my eyes without feeling dizzy, Izuku said, keeping his gaze fixed on the ceiling. I'll go make the soup with Ibara. Everyone else, get out of the room. Reiko, can you stay and keep an eye on him? Yui asked, winking at Reiko, who nodded in response. Once everyone left the room, only Reiko and Izuku remained. She began to slide his hair gently. Hey, Izuku. Reiko said, blushing. Oh. What's up? He replied, trying to drift off to sleep. Oh. Only if you want to, she hesitated, her voice trailing off. Izuku suggested, I'll be honest, you should ask Yui and Ibara for permission. Reiko admitted, her cheeks flushing deeper, I already did and they said yes. Then wait until I get through this and I'll take you out for a walk, okay? He said, closing his eyes as Reiko nodded, still blushing. They remained in that comfortable silence, with Reiko lifting Izuku's head onto her lap so he could sleep more soundly. A smile graced his lips as he drifted off, which only made Reiko blush more. I confirm. I like you, Izuku, she whispered, her face burning. To be continued. Chapter end. The green-haired boy awoke, feeling an indescribable sensation. As he opened his eyes, he realized he was resting on someone's soft thighs. What the heck, God? He muttered, bewildered. Reiko chuckled at his confusion. No, Izuku. It's me. Did you enjoy sleeping there? She asked, a blush creeping onto her cheeks. Honestly, I'll say no so you don't think I'm a pervert. But I loved it, he admitted, shifting slightly on her legs. Reiko stammered, her blush deepening, I'm glad to hear that. So, about our date? Yeah, don't worry. I'll do the show, and then we can go wherever you want. I'll pay for everything, he said, smiling and making Reiko blush even more. Why, she replied, still flustered. Well, there are 3 hours left until the show. Are you going to come watch me? He asked, looking at her expectantly. Why, we couldn't possibly turn down 3 front-row seats, she said, laughing a bit, her cheeks still flushed. No kidding. I love you girls, he said with a grin. Why you love us? Did you love me too? She whispered, her face turning even redder. After a while, Ibara and Yui arrived. Upon seeing Reiko blushing and Izuku sleeping with a smile, they exchanged knowing glances. 2.5 hours passed before the girls decided to wake him up. Izuku, Ibara said, kissing him gently to rouse him. It's time for your show. One moment, he said, pulling Ibara into a hug. Izuku, it's time to wake up, she said, laughing at how cute he looked. What the heck? He muttered irritably, still half asleep. Losing her patience, Ibara used her vines to lift him and drop him onto the floor, startling him awake. What's going on? He exclaimed, wide-eyed. Time for your show. Yui urged, her energy palpable as her hair floated around her. Why, he said, a hint of anxiety creeping in. I love you all, he added, kissing all 3 girls without realizing he had kissed Reiko too. I hope you make it. Bye, he called, rushing out. Here we go. I think we should get ready to go, Ibara said, glancing at Yui, who nodded. Come on, Reiko. Reiko? She asked, noticing her friend's bright red face. He kissed me. He kissed me. Reiko exclaimed, fainting with a blush, smoke seemingly coming from her ears. Yui and Ibara laughed at their friend's reaction, now a sister in their relationship. Time skip. How's it going, everyone? Izuku shouted excitedly as he stepped onto the stage, greeted by enthusiastic cheers from the entire Yui, Reiko, and Ibara were in the front row, watching him intently, while Bakugo and Todoroki stood behind the curtains, ready to assist if needed. Hey, I'm really glad the whole school is here. I don't even know why you like me, but whatever, it's better for me. I get paid the more people come, he joked, eliciting laughter from the crowd. It reminds me of when I first started as a comedian. People would tell me what I did well and what I did poorly because people love to share their opinions, he continued, prompting more laughter. 10 years ago, I remember people saying, speak up, express yourself. You have to share your opinion. Long live the revolution. Right now, my friends, we need a new slogan. Shut your mouth for a second and don't give your opinion, he declared, making everyone laugh again. Because this generation, and I'm not just talking about us young people, the older folks are included too, everyone wants to have an opinion. Someone posts on Facebook, I like apples, and someone comments, PFF, pears are better. Who asked you what you think? He said, causing the audience to erupt in laughter. If the post says, oh, what do you think? Feel free to share your opinion, but if the person is making a statement, let them be happy with their opinion and stop bothering them. Opinions are like butts. If no one asked for yours, don't just throw it out there. Laughter filled the room as Izuku's words resonated with everyone. Even Aizawa chuckled lightly. Some were laughing so hard they were in tears. Okay? You have to respect others' rights. Let me give you another very simple example. When I was a kid, there were rules for social interaction, okay? In elementary school, the best gift your parents could give you was a Casio watch that was also a calculator. Those watches were the coolest. It was a pain to press that button, he said, laughing lightly as everyone chuckled. Or your buddy would just show off. But having that watch it was something cool. I remember a classmate, he showed up with one of those watches, and everyone was fascinated. And the humble guy, right? Well, I got it as a birthday gift. Huh, he said, sharing a laugh with the audience. And how about it? Does the calculator work? Yeah. But it's a pain to press, but it works. Laughter erupted again. And how's the watch? Well, it smells like CD on my wrist, but... The green-haired boy paused, laughing along with everyone. But other than that, it's great, he concluded, chuckling as the audience continued to enjoy the moment. And Oscar, another classmate, jumped into the conversation and said, my dad is going to buy me one like that. But the newer model. And another classmate asked him, who? My dad. Izuku declared with determination, then let's go. I want to make amends with the loves of my life, and the tides trying to separate me from them will be dried up by my great. Shoto interrupted, they won't let you touch them until you apologize, right? Izuku sighed, no. Bakugo exclaimed, well, what are we waiting for? Let's go. He urged Shoto to start running, with Izuku and Bakugo following closely behind. Meanwhile, the girls were gathered together. Ibara wondered aloud, I wonder how Izuku is doing, as she watched TV with her feet resting on a heated water mat. Reiko replied, I don't know, but it's kind of boring when he's not around, while she tried to style her hair. What are you doing, Yui? Yui responded, whenever Izuku is around, I can never build a house of cards, but today I'm going to make it happen, as she carefully placed one card on top of another. Ibara admitted, I have to admit, it is a bit dull without Izuku. The three girls exchanged tender smiles and agreed, it's so calm. Back with Izuku, Endeavor asked, so you want my plane? Izuku replied, yes. Endeavor continued, to apologize to your girlfriends for saying you'd rather have a horse than her? Izuku confirmed, exactly. Endeavor shook his head, saying, you must be crazy. As he began to walk away, Izuku pleaded, wait. I'll do whatever it takes, desperation evident in his voice. Endeavor smirked, whatever it takes? Izuku stammered, whatever it takes. Endeavor said, well, what you'll do is... Back with the girls? Yui asked, do you guys feel that too? Ibara replied, what? That Izuku is about to do something ridiculous? Reiko chimed in, wow, I thought I was the only one. As she applied lipstick. Yui looked confused and asked, Why are you getting all dressed up? Reiko explained, well, when Izuku comes to apologize, I want to look my best. With a smile. Ibara pointed out, you know Izuku doesn't care about that, right? Reiko responded, I know, but I want to surprise him. Still smiling. Yui asked, surprise? Looking puzzled. Reiko said, don't you know? Ibara inquired, know what? Reiko revealed, today is his birthday? Her expression serious as she looked at the two girls. Ibara and Yui gasped in unison, oh my gosh. Back with Izuku, he asked, do we really have to do this? Shoto replied, as embarrassing as it is, we have no choice. Lowering his head while Bakugo laughed in the distance at what was about to unfold. Izuku grumbled, just to mess with me, I'm taking him to Amsterdam? Annoyance creeping into his voice. Shoto asked, can I come with you? Izuku smiled, you roared? Shoto said, let's get this started. Looking down to see if the green-haired boy would nod. As the curtains opened, several professional heroes were on stage, applauding at the sight of Izuku and the son of the current #1 hero. Endeavor announced, well, as you all know, today is my birthday, so I wanted to throw a party with the professional heroes, and I brought Izuku here to play us a song, prompting everyone to start applauding. Alright, let's begin, he said, and Shoto began to beatbox poorly, causing laughter to ripple through the crowd as Izuku took the microphone. Izuku declared, alright, this one's for Endeavor, happy birthday, Ujirake, I dedicate this to you. The bicolor boy continued with his beatboxing while Izuku cleared his throat. Izuku shouted, wash it. The soap with soap, Maraca, come on. Together, Izuku and Shoto sang, Maraca, you love it when they pull pranks. At that moment, laughter erupted from the audience, but Endeavor's face turned red with anger. Izuku and Shoto continued, strikes back, you know, Izuku and Shoto are exposing you. Endeavor shouted, enough, enough, visibly annoyed. Izuku and Shoto teased, catch it, spread your legs wide. The audience roared with laughter as Endeavor climbed onto the stage to silence them. Izuku shouted, Endeavor. Shoto added, who does he think he is? The sound of a horn disconnecting echoed throughout the room as Endeavor glared at Izuku and Shoto. He then pulled out some keys and threw them. There they are now, scram. Endeavor said, irritation evident in his voice. Izuku and Shoto simply smiled and ran off, meeting Bakugo, who was already at the exit. Bakugo laughed, you guys really went all out? Shoto said, alright, follow me, I know where it is. Prompting the two boys to nod and start running after him. Meanwhile, the girls had finished getting ready, their hairstyles appealing to anyone's eyes. They smiled and returned to their activities, Yui building her house of cards, Ibara watching TV, and Reiko reading a bit. However, they couldn't continue when they felt a slight tremor, enough to topple Yui's house. Yui cried, my house. The girls rushed to the window to see what was happening. Yui, Reiko, and Ibara exclaimed, no way. They were astonished to see a plane riding in the sky. Will you forgive me? Along with a heart. Izuku shouted from the plane, will you forgive me? Ibara yelled from the window, of course we will, as she laughed along with the two girls. Izuku said, alright, that's enough. Bakugo warned, yeah, now jump because this is about to explode. Shoto gasped, what? Bakugo replied nonchalantly, yeah, I rigged it with a bomb. Izuku exclaimed, why? Terror evident in his voice. Bakugo shrugged, it's in my genes, man. What did you expect? Not going with us? He asked, a nervous smile on his face. Ibara, Reiko, and Yui replied in unison, oh, so you are. Their sweet smiles made the green-haired boy feel as if his entire life flashed before his eyes for a moment. But just so you know, it won't just be me going, my representative, Bakugo, and Todoroki will be coming too. Izuku continued. Reiko's expression shifted as she asked, wait, let me get this straight. You invited your friends before us. Tears began to well in her eyes. Izuku sighed, in it, God, just kill me. A loud thunderclap echoed outside you. No way, that was just a joke. He hugged Reiko tightly and then opened his arms, inviting the girls to join him. Though they initially pouted, they eventually joined in, and Izuku began to slide their hair. I just don't want you to go to Amsterdam because it's a really dangerous place. Marijuana is legal there, and that says it all. I don't want to expose you to that danger. But if you really want to go, I'll take you, but I want you to promise me that you'll always stay with me, okay? He said seriously. The girls nodded, a bit flushed by his earnest words. Yui declared, we'll always be with you, and I don't just mean in Amsterdam. We would never leave your side. Because we love you. They all said this in unison as they playfully knocked the green-haired boy to the ground and began kissing him gently. Izuku laughed. Sometimes I wonder how girls like you ended up with a JRK like me. Reiko nestled into his chest saying, well, you're the best JRK there is. Dim and I feel so down. Because, honestly, I love you all so much, he admitted, tears starting to form in his eyes. Seeing this, the girls exchanged tender smiles and hugged him tightly, showering him with affection. It was undoubtedly a strange but appealing relationship. Meanwhile, a boy with two-toned hair struggled to pack a suitcase. This thing won't close. The minute. Shoto exclaimed, frustration evident in his voice. He was unaware of someone approaching him. Momo, can we talk? No, shut up. Shoto replied, not looking up. What? Oh, sorry, I thought you were Bakugo. What do you need? He said, finally acknowledging her. Momo, confused, asked, how did you come to the conclusion that I'm Bakugo? Shoto smirked, heck cutie, causing Momo to blush. So, what do you want? I'll be direct. I like you, have liked you for a long time, since we were kids. That's not possible. Shoto replied. Momo pressed on, but what I want to say is that I want you to be my boyfriend. Will you accept? Can you cook? No. Can you clean? No, she said, looking more dejected. Well, it's not like it matters much if we have money, he said, burning $100 bill. That was your plane ticket. Shoto's eyes widened. Oh no, I wanted to go to Amsterdam. How can I be so stupid? Hey, it was just a joke. It was just $100 bill. Then forget it, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. So. Wait, weren't we already dating? Huh. Yeah, I mean we hook up, we kiss. What were we? You told me I was special, then you called me your where while throwing money at me. Oh. Well, now we're dating, he said with a grin. Momo smiled back. And well, I'm off to Amsterdam, he said, grabbing his bags. Just as he was about to leave, Momo grabbed his arm. So, we just became a couple, and you're telling me you're leaving already? Well yeah. Do you want to hook up first? No, Shoto, I want to go with you. Then you should be packing your bags because we're leaving. Oh no, how stupid. What's wrong? She asked, worried. The flight leaves tomorrow. Well, since we have time, he said, locking the door and picking Momo up. Are we doing that now? She said, blushing. Yeah. Why not? He replied, beginning to massage her back. Oh. To be continued. A girl with orange hair was running through the halls of U, fear evident on her face. Come on, girl, just accept it, it's nothing bad, right? A shadow taunted as it approached Kendo. Stay away from me, she shouted, terrified. I just want a little fun. I'll pay you, with that great body of yours, you're just a dirty ware. He laughed arrogantly. Kendo replied defiantly, and no, I'm loyal to the one I like, even if he doesn't want me. Oh, poor thing. Nah, I don't care. I just want to have you. He reached for Kendo's wrist, but before he could grab her, Izuku appeared, hugging Kendo and pressing her against his chest while seizing the boy's wrist. No way. Oh, look who it is. My buddy Nito Kurwa. Izuku said with a smile that radiated more fear than happiness. Hey, Escamilla. Nito stammered. Mr. Escamilla to you. Izuku replied, maintaining his grip. Nito attempted to flee, but Izuku blocked his path. You did it with Ibara, with Yaoyorozu, and now with her, don't you get it? But what do you want me to do? She provoked me. Nito protested. Kendo gasped, what? Izuku interjected, no, That's not true. I was just walking and he. Yeah, I know it's not your fault. It's this guy's fault, he said, clearly annoyed. Nito retorted, but you can't do anything to me. What would the press say about you? Just give her to me, and I won't say anything about this on social media. You know they don't forgive, he said, grinning ominously. Kendo felt nervous. She knew Izuku, the boy she was in love with, but she wasn't sure if he was more interested in his fame. Come on man, do it. Izuku urged. What the? Nito replied, confused. Yeah, I don't care, do whatever you want. Well, Kendo, let's go. Then the green-haired boy, blushing, picked her up in his arms and started walking. Hey, you really want her? You. Shut your mouth. Izuku shouted. The green-haired boy reached Nito and, with force, punched him in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. I can't stand people like that, he said, kicking him before walking alongside Kendo. Should we leave him there? Kendo asked. Do you care? Izuku replied. Not really, she said, starting to walk with the green-haired boy toward the dorms. After a while, they arrived, and Kendo suddenly realized. Oh no, I was almost assaulted. And you're just now noticing? Izuku said, a hint of disbelief in his voice. Oh, screw you, she said, starting to cry. Are you okay? Izuku asked, concern etched on his face. No, they wanted to hurt me, she said, sitting on the ground as she began to sob. DMN. Not knowing what to do, the green-haired boy sat down next to Kendo and hugged her tightly yet gently. Thank you. I care about you a lot, she said, hiding her face in his chest. Suddenly, Ibara, Yui, and Reiko appeared, their expressions filled with surprise. So that's how you wanted to catch him, you unfaithful dog. Reiko exclaimed. How could you? Ibara added. We trusted you. Yui chimed in. Izuku stared, bewildered. A play? Yes. Reiko exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. When we get back from Amsterdam, we'll join the play as Juliet's, and of course, you'll be Romeo. In fact, we've already signed you up. She flashed a sweet smile but then noticed Kendo, who seemed troubled, just like the others. Hey, Itsuka, what's wrong? Yui asked, concern etched on her face. Kendo hesitated before speaking. Do you remember Nito Kurwa? Ibara grimaced. Don't even talk to me about that guy. Izuku nodded, recalling the past. He tried to do the same thing with her. The three girls turned to him, their expressions cold. What? They said in unison. I already dealt with it, Izuku replied, a soft laugh escaping him. And believe me, I enjoyed it more than you can imagine. At that moment, Kendo noticed the green-haired boy's smile and felt a blush creep onto her cheeks. With newfound determination, she turned to the other three. Okay, remember what I told you that time when I mentioned Reiko? The black-haired girl's eyes widened in surprise. She had indeed forgotten. And you still want to? Yes, for a long time. Kendo said, glancing at Izuku. Yui nodded in agreement. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Huh, what's up? Kendo took a deep breath. I want you to be my boyfriend. Izuku blinked in confusion. Huh. Ibara echoed his surprise. Huh. Reiko joined in, equally taken aback. Huh. Yui, however, smiled knowingly. Huh. Oh, I already knew. Kendo's voice rose with excitement. Do you want to be my boyfriend? To be continued. At the airport, chaos reigned as 8 people sprinted through the terminal. Izuku, flanked by his 4 girls, Bakugo, and Momo, who was riding on Shoto's back, were racing against time. The green-haired boy activated his wings to lift the girls, desperate to catch their flight. Kendo, they're closing the gate, she shouted, panic rising in her voice. Oh no! Izuku exclaimed. Hey, idiot! Jose Luis called out, his tone sharp. And your personal issues too, a father warned, his voice filled with authority. I forbid you from being with my granddaughter. Izuku, unfazed, declared, because I have God on my side. He couldn't believe how he had ended up in this situation, nor did he expect it to unfold this way. And the one who puts on the best show will be considered the greatest comedian of all time, he proclaimed, determination shining in his eyes. That title, he mused, glancing at Egg Eyes and Paquito Maya. It has to be mine. What began as a simple plan to perform in Amsterdam had spiraled into something far more complicated. So what are you going to do? Ibara asked, her curiosity piqued. Izuku took a deep breath. I think for the first time, I'm going to stand up for myself. Jose Luis chimed in, you're about to get it, man. Yui added, you know we love you. Izuku shrugged. I mean, it's not like I was going to. I'm going to get you. Jose Luis threatened. Forget it. I love you all too, and if I don't come back, tell my son I love him. The girls gasped in unison. Son. Kendo suddenly remembered. I forgot it wasn't a safe day. With Izuku Escamilla as Izuku Escamilla. We have to get to the show on time. I can't miss this, he said, urgency in his voice. With Bakugo Lorenzo Arriaga as Katsuki Bakugo. Wait, nerd, we still have 4 minutes left. Bakugo shouted. And with Shoto Villarreal as Shoto Todoroki. Honestly, if we get through all this, I'll tell Momo I really like her, Shoto admitted, his tone serious. I'm acting this way because I want to seem funny so I don't bore her. Izuku and Bakugo exchanged glances, both silently agreeing. No, the guy is really nice. Madness in Amsterdam. Stay tuned. Seriously, stay tuned because it's going to be a chapter of over 10,000 words, Izuku promised. Momo added, and remember, friends, this whole project is not sponsored or supported by anyone. It's just a guy looking for free time to give you the best chapter to wrap up the story in the best way possible. And he also wants to tell that guy who wanted to erase it to back off. Yeah. But anyway, stay tuned. Izuku urged, a grin on his face. Chapter end. Yesterday, at a gas station in Toronto. That's all, boss, the attendant called out as a car drove away, leaving him counting the gas money. Suddenly, he overheard some voices. Hey, did you hear that Izuku Escamilla is doing a show in Amsterdam? One person said. Really? Wow, my son is a fan of his and lives in Amsterdam. I hope he can go see him, another replied. The attendant gripped the money tightly as a great power began to emanate from him. Everyone felt it. It was an immeasurable force. What's wrong with you, Jose Luis? His boss asked, startled. I'm going to Amsterdam. Jose declared, annoyance evident in his voice. I'll be back in 5 days, he added, already moving toward the door. Hey, you can't just leave like that, his boss protested, but Jose was already gone, soaring into the sky. Then it, may God have mercy on the poor soul who made him angry. Turning to his friend, Jose asked, what day is tomorrow? Wednesday. Perfect. It was perfect. Today with Izuku. He woke up next to Kendo, both of them wrapped in each other's arms, just like the other girls were hugging the green-haired boy. Slowly, they began to stir, only to see him playfully interacting with Ibara. Izuku. Ibara murmured, her voice soft. Honestly, I don't get it. They're big, they're appealing, they're perfect. What on earth did your mom feed you to make you so amazing? I should be paying her for all the investment I put into them, he teased, a playful grin on his face. Isaac, don't say that, she replied, her cheeks flushing. Hey, Izuku. Reiko called out, drawing his attention. What about ours? Kendo, Yui, and Reiko asked, their voices filled with playful challenge. Their teasing demeanor shifted when they saw the green-haired boy create more hands and start to engage with them playfully. Wow, all of them are perfect, he said, a mischievous smile spreading across his face. The girls let out soft giggles as they felt his gentle touches, only to be lifted playfully and then dropped again. After about 10 minutes, Izuku finally stopped. Why do you stop? Reiko asked, blushing. I'm going to take a shower. I need to sort out today's itinerary, he replied. All right. Kendo said, accepting his decision. But when we get back, will you keep doing that? Yui asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Really? Ibara chimed in, her curiosity piqued. I think it's pretty obvious. Izuku said, throwing himself onto the bed to hug all the girls. You're all perfect. There's never a moment when I don't want to hug you or be close to you. Do you know why? Because you're a pervert? Reiko teased, a playful grin on her face. No, because I love you all. I don't know why you're with me, but I want you to always be. I adore you girls, he exclaimed, squeezing them tightly. At that moment, the girls began to laugh tenderly, and in a playful counterattack, they lifted the green-haired boy, hugging him tightly. We're with you because we love you, Ibara said, her voice sincere. You're the best thing that ever happened to us. Reiko added, her eyes shining with affection. I've been in love with you since we were kids, and I still feel the same way as I did on the first day. Yui confessed, her heart laid bare. You always defended and supported me in everything. I guess it was inevitable that this would happen, Kendo said, her voice tinged with resignation. Oh, how I love you all, Izuku replied, smiling warmly. Well, I think we should. Suddenly, the shrill ring of a phone interrupted the moment. Ugh, they always ruin the moment, Ibara pouted, reaching for her phone to answer. Hello, What? Time passed, and the atmosphere grew tense. Ibara's father glared at Izuku, who was struggling to choose one of the 6 spoons beside his plate. So, sir, how did you become a dad? Bakugo asked, nervously breaking the silence. Izuku, unable to decide on a utensil, shrugged and began eating with his hands, only to receive a gentle elbow from Ibara. Come on, honey, she encouraged. Honey? Her father asked, clearly annoyed. Grandpa. Ibara, you know exactly how I feel about the Escamilla. I forbid you to be with my granddaughter, he said, his glare fixed on Izuku. Hold on. What do you mean by the Escamilla? Izuku asked, confusion mingling with irritation. A bunch of ignorant and filthy people, especially Inko Escamilla. She's a woman who is very far from. Say it, and I'll break your face, Izuku warned, his voice low and dangerous. Izuku, Reiko said, trying to calm him. I'll break it in the name of God, he replied, annoyance creeping into his tone. Your family has been full of womanizers for generations. That's why I don't want you to hurt my granddaughter, her father shouted. Come on, that hasn't been the case since my grandfather's generation. Izuku retorted. But better safe than sorry. Hey, I think, Shoto began, but was quickly silenced by both Izuku and her father. I don't want you with my granddaughter. I don't know what bad habits you might have taught her already. The habits I might have taught her have nothing to do with it. Izuku shot back. Did you take her innocence? No. You already took it. I hope you take responsibility, you demon worm, her father accused. In it, that's what I want, and you're not letting me explain. But how do you expect me to take you seriously if you're with 3 other girls? And do you think I decided that? They decided it. And to be honest, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Don't call it that, it's what Christ gave you. Yes, sorry. Long live Christ the King. Long live Christ the King. Izuku echoed, trying to lighten the mood. But how can I trust you with my granddaughter? Tell me how you're going to support her. I'm the best comedian in the world, I make a ton of money, and I also have a large herd. Izuku. Kendo interjected, nudging him gently. I have a large herd of livestock to survive in case something happens, he clarified, while Bakugo and Shoto exchanged amused glances. Tell me one last thing, just one, to convince me to let you be with my granddaughter. Oh my God, enough! Ibara exclaimed, frustration bubbling over as she threw her plate of food. Ibara, what? Her father began. I'm not an object, Grandpa, for you to give away to whoever has the best things. But honey. No, Grandpa, not anymore. Even if you don't let me be with him, I'll be with him because I love him. I don't care if you want to disinherit me. I would be very happy to have the name Ibara Midoriya. So whatever happens today, I will stay with Izuku, do you understand? Everyone fell silent, no one daring to speak. The food that Izuku had in his mouth fell back onto his plate as Yui, her mouth agape in surprise, wiped his face with a cloth. Her father sank back into his seat, a bit shocked by what had just transpired. Wow. I don't know what to say, he finally managed. Izuku leaned in and whispered, that you give your blessing for her to be with me, earning a playful punch on the arm from Momo. Be quiet, she replied. Yes, sorry. Izuku Escamilla. For God and you. I've seen something I never thought I would see. My granddaughter Ibara has always been very reserved, but this shows me the courage she has for you. She truly loves you, and I can't take that happiness away from her. I don't fully accept you yet, but I think I could tolerate you until the day I die. Does that mean that? Ibara asked, her voice filled with hope. You, Izuku Escamilla, have my blessing to marry my granddaughter, her father said with a smile. Ibara let out a joyful scream and quickly threw herself at Izuku, showering him with hugs and kisses. The other girls, Reiko, Kendo, and Yui, excitedly rushed to embrace him, resulting in an appealing family hug. And you too, ladies, even though it goes against my beliefs. You won't find my family able to hold a polygamous wedding, her father added, causing the three girls to nod happily while continuing to shower Izuku with affection. Well, now that everything's settled, can we get back to eating? Bakugo asked, prompting everyone to laugh and nod. As they enjoyed their meal and chatted pleasantly, her father occasionally glanced at Izuku and Ibara, watching them talk happily with the other girls. He also noticed Bakugo, Shoto, and Momo chatting cheerfully among themselves, not wanting to interrupt the lovely family moment. What no one noticed was that a certain orange-haired girl was feeling very nervous. They walked calmly down the street, enjoying the somewhat chilly weather of Amsterdam, until they reached their first destination. The Van Gogh Museum, the girls exclaimed excitedly. Yeah. Izuku, Bakugo, and Todoroki replied unenthusiastically. Well, let's go in. Ibara said with a smile as they began to walk inside. Inside the museum, the girls were captivated by the paintings, especially Momo, who was thrilled to be in such a prestigious place. And the girls? Bakugo whispered. And the distractions? Izuku whispered back. Sorry guys, you'll have to deal with it. Momo wanted to visit this museum, and this is where we're going, Shoto said. Dude, you're such a simp, Izuku teased. S for Sniper Nanel? Bakugo quipped. No, simp as in. Friend. Investor. Multi-purpose. Izuku added, causing Bakugo to laugh at Shoto. Hey, did you see how mean they are? Shoto protested. Okay, sorry, but let's just wait until the girls get bored, and then we'll see what else to do. No way! Izuku suddenly exclaimed, pulling out his phone. Upon seeing a notification, his hands began to tremble. What was that, idiot? Are you okay? Bakugo asked, concerned. Bakugo, this isn't just any show. What do you mean? Shoto inquired. With this show, I could enter the history books as the best comedian in the world. Izuku, Shoto, and Bakugo shouted, Girls! The girls quickly dropped what they were doing and rushed over. What happened? They asked in unison. Girls, I was chosen to. Izuku started, unable to finish as he simply showed them his phone. They gasped together. Later, they found themselves in an appealing restaurant, adorned with large chandeliers and exquisite dishes. As they settled at the table, one of the girls stood up. I would like to make a toast, Yui announced, her voice steady. To an exceptional person, someone who, despite all that life has thrown at him, has faced it and become who he is today. A person who will always hold a place in my heart, and whom I will love forever. Kendo, Reiko, and Ibara rose to their feet, raising their glasses in solidarity. We will love, they echoed in unison. That's why we want you to allow this success to be not just yours, but ours. As the great team we are, Ibara added. We've formed a family, Kendo declared. And we want to be with you forever, just as you are with us, Reiko concluded. We love you, Izuku Escamilla. Now and always, they said together. The girls watched with tenderness as Izuku covered his eyes, overwhelmed by emotion. Shoto patted him on the back, while Momo wiped away her tears. Unable to contain himself, Izuku began to sob, exclaiming, Come here. He extended his arms, inviting all the girls except Momo to hug him. Honestly, I just want us to get married right after we graduate. I want to marry you and live with you. I want everything with you, he confessed, tears streaming down his face. The girls, moved by his vulnerability, also began to tear up, gently caressing him with affection. The other three watched with satisfied smiles, and Momo's smile grew even wider when she felt Shoto take her hand without looking at her. I love you, Shoto said softly. I love you too, Shoto, Momo replied, her smile radiant. Suddenly, Bakugo broke the moment, pulling out his phone and calling someone. You know what? Screw it, he exclaimed. Hello? Listen to me, you stupid frog. Oh, hi Katsuki, what's up? I'll only say this once. I love you. What do you want from? What? Just that, goodbye, he said before hanging up. A stunned silence fell over the group as Bakugo dropped his phone to the floor. No way, I actually said it, he muttered, his friends nodding in disbelief. I didn't think this through. What am I going to do now? Shoto slapped him lightly. Hey, calm down. She'll say yes when you get back, you'll see. Okay. Why? But what the hell am I going to? Bakugo stammered, but was interrupted by a loud boom. A deafening noise echoed from outside the restaurant, and everyone's eyes widened as they heard the screams of people fleeing in panic. Izuku quickly conjured a shield of air to protect them from the debris. I finally found you, shouted Jose Luis. Jose Luis. Izuku muttered, his expression darkening. Who is that? Ibara asked, her voice trembling. Shoto, Bakugo, get them out of here now. Izuku commanded. But Izuku. Yui protested. Get them out of here, he insisted. The girls, frightened but trusting Izuku, ran off. The green-haired boy dashed toward the attacker, positioning himself defiantly in front of him. What do you want, Jose Luis? He asked, annoyance creeping into his voice. A fight, you and me. Jose Luis shouted, stripping off his shirt. Without hesitation, Izuku followed suit, prompting a smile from Jose Luis as they approached each other. Their muscles tensed, and the air crackled with their combined power. Everyone in the restaurant felt the tension, while the girls, along with Bakugo and Shoto, who had taken refuge on a nearby building, watched intently. Who is that approaching Izuku? Yui asked, her worry evident. His old bully. Jose Luis, Bakugo replied. The girls fell silent, realizing this was the same Jose Luis who had tormented Izuku in the past. Izuku's expression hardened, and a dark aura began to emanate from him. No. This is his fight, Shoto said firmly. But we have to. Ibara started. He asked us to protect them, so shut up and watch the fight. You won't want to miss it. Bakugo interrupted. Reluctantly, the girls nodded, their fear mingling with curiosity as they watched Izuku and Jose Luis clash their auras, fists raised, ready to begin the battle. To be continued. They stared at each other, their auras of power intensifying. Neither spoke until the city's clock chimed 4. Jose Luis. Izuku called out. Escamilla. Jose Luis replied. Their fists collided, recoiling with force, sending both of them flying back to their starting positions, but they landed on their feet. So, you're not a coward anymore, huh? Jose taunted. I could say the same about your foolishness. But you're still just as much of a fool, Izuku shot back. Say it. I know you feel good thinking you can beat me. But how about we make a bet? Jose proposed. What bet, idiot? Izuku asked, narrowing his eyes. If I win, I get to choose one of the girls you brought with you. The ones on top of that building. He leered at Momo. Oh no, man, get your own. Shoto interjected, annoyance creeping into his tone. Not with you, you idiot. So, Escamilla. What do you say? Jose pressed. You can go screw yourself. Izuku retorted. With that, Izuku lunged at Jose Luis again. He aimed a punch, but Jose dodged and countered, landing a blow to Izuku's stomach that sent him crashing into a concrete wall, embedding him in it. He knew it. And now it was confirmed. This isn't about endurance, Bakugo said, his voice tense. What do you mean? Ibara asked, confused. Speed versus brutality. Shoto explained. Now that I look closer, one is very strong, the other very fast. But Momo smiled nervously. Escamilla doesn't just have a quirk. What? Everyone asked in unison. You haven't seen it. We don't even know for sure what his quirk is. He can do many things, but we don't know how. Momo continued. Now that you mention it, you're right. But as kids, he never told me what his quirk was called. Yui added. And if he can do many things, could it be a multi-quirk? Kendo wondered aloud. Copy, acquisition, and evolution. Bakugo stated, his expression serious. What? Reiko asked, puzzled. Copy, acquisition, and evolution. That's the name of his quirk, Bakugo clarified. The flow of energy coursed through Izuku's body every time he saw someone, allowing him to copy their abilities. His DNA multiplied, adapting to his body, while his blood accelerated as he evolved that quirk. It was as if he could copy Bakugo's quirk and create nuclear explosions. That's why he hadn't done it. Are you telling me that? Shoto began, disbelief in his voice. Yes. One of the 4 mystic quirks. Bakugo confirmed. Mystic quirks. Momo echoed, intrigued. Throughout human history, there have always been those who ruled, and among them were 4 kings, the strongest of all, each possessing impressive quirks that could easily defeat both All Might and All for One combined. Their names have been lost to time, but their quirks remain known. One of these quirks was Strength Enhancement, a power so formidable that it surpassed even the rotation of the Earth. I think that's the one he has, someone remarked, breaking the silence. What? Ibara exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. Are you telling me he could? Momo started, but Bakugo interrupted. If he did, he would kill himself. I doubt he would take that risk. Then there are the others, one for all and all for one. Bakugo continued, his tone serious. But didn't you say that? Yui began, only to be cut off again. Those are original quirks, Bakugo explained. The weaker ones are just copies of that villain and All Might. The All for One and One for All were quirks divided among 3 individuals known as the 3 Musketeers, Shoto finished, nodding in recognition. Yes, Bakugo confirmed. They were the defenders of the medieval era. Though they were the weakest in their group, they were the strongest on Earth, second only to the other 2. And then there was the strongest of them all. No one knew where he had come from. Initially, he was weak, but his quirk, copy, acquisition, and evolution had grown stronger over time. Quirks were passed down to the next bearer, and Izuku was the holder of this particular quirk. When he turned 4, a great responsibility came with it, forcing him to mature faster than most. Though he might seem foolish mentally, he was smarter than Principal Nizu. Everyone watched in shock as Bakugo's eyes shifted to a dull blue. He can give quirks from time to time, Bakugo revealed. He can't do it at will, but one day, while we were playing, he accidentally gave me one. I discovered it 3 years ago and realized it was him. He was the only one who could do it. This quirk is incredibly useful in battles. It allows me to see the flow of energy in people, but it has a flaw. What's that flaw? Shoto asked, curiosity piqued. It's slowly making me deaf, Bakugo admitted, shrugging. But that doesn't worry me too much since I can feel the flow of everything with this quirk. Still, my hatred is deteriorating because it's the one that gathers all the information and sends it to my brain. The moment my hearing goes, I'll have to rely on my sight, until I go blind. And when I go blind, I'll still be able to use my eyes, but I'll have to rely on my heart. Until it stops. What? Momo whispered in disbelief. How can you be so calm? Reiko asked, her voice trembling. Because there's still time before that happens, Bakugo replied with a smile. In 10 years, my hearing will deteriorate completely, in 30 years, my sight, and in 35 years, my heart. I'll still live until I'm 51. He paused, a determined glint in his eyes. And besides, I can't die yet, because I haven't faced him. Right, Izuku? He challenged, glancing at the green-haired boy, who effortlessly pushed himself off the wall. Do you really think you hurt me? Izuku grinned, his confidence unwavering. What? But you were. Jose stammered, taken aback. I was weak before, you idiot. But you know what I am now. Izuku declared, his voice booming. Weep before Izuku Escamilla. Everyone gasped as shadows began to emerge behind him. 3 shadows that didn't resemble him but were somehow connected to him. Even if you don't believe me, I had a dimensional journey while I was sleeping and managed to copy the quirk of someone named Izuku Midoriya. A quirk so powerful it can alter the universe, but even I have limitations. That doesn't stop me from having some characteristics. Shoo, call me the cricket. Where are my children? A voice echoed ominously. Hello. Welcome to the final fight. Where we'll tear you apart, Izuku said, a mischievous grin on his face. Really? Are you serious, dude? Vissen replied, feigning indifference. I could pretend my voice sounded cool, but whatever, Cricket added. Just tell me who we need to beat up. Lorona urged, impatience evident in her tone. Hurry up, man. I had to leave Mexico alone. I have a ton of people to scare, Lorona continued. Yeah. This will be quick, Izuku said with a smile. No, it won't be. Do you know what day it is today? Jose interjected. Yeah, it's Wednesday. But oh no. Izuku's expression shifted to one of dread. Everyone watched with a mix of fear and anticipation as 10 giant hands appeared in the sky, their palms wide open, as if preparing to deliver a slap. Every Wednesday I have to give you one. Do you understand? Jose said, his voice dripping with menace. You know what, BSTRD? Screw your mother. Attack. Izuku shouted defiantly. Yes. Cricket, Vissen, and Lorona echoed in unison. The crowd watched in awe as the green-haired boy sprouted wings and a halo. It was Izu. Sorry, buddy, but I felt those hits in elementary school too, Izu said, taking flight toward Jose Luis. Jose Luis punched Vissen but couldn't prevent a giant salt shaker from hitting him, sending him stumbling backward. Unfortunately, Vissen disappeared, as the quirk the green-haired boy couldn't evolve was a weak copy, leaving only Izu, Lorona, and Cricket. The green-haired boy quickly reached Jose Luis, attempting to cut him with one of his feathers, but Jose Luis caught his wrist. Daemon! Izuku cursed. Oh, it's sheet, get out of there! Bakugo shouted. It was too late. Jose Luis unleashed all his power, and with one punch to Izuku's face, sent him crashing into several shops, breaking through walls. Lorona and Cricket vanished, and the girls began to cry, just like Bakugo. I don't feel his flow, Bakugo muttered, panic creeping into his voice. Now you're mine, Jose said, pointing at Momo, who was hiding behind Shoto. Jose Luis flew toward the building and, after hitting Shoto, left him unconscious against a wall. Momo panicked and rushed to check on Shoto, but Jose Luis grabbed her by the wrist. Now you're, he began, but vines suddenly struck his face. What? Let her go, Ibara demanded, her voice trembling but resolute. Oh, a brave one. Let's see if you still have that bravery after I kill you, Jose Luis sneered. Bakugo attempted to blast Jose Luis, but he caught Bakugo's hand and slammed him into the ground, fracturing it and leaving him unconscious. He approached Ibara, ready to strike her and the other girls. Say goodbye, he roared. The girls watched in terror as the massive fist, filled with overwhelming power, descended toward them. They felt time slow, and faint smiles painted their lips as they closed their eyes. Forgive us, Izuku, Ibara, Kendo, Yui, and Reiko whispered in unison. Jose Luis was about to strike them down, to kill them. Momo cried out in fear, and then a kick sent him flying. What? He exclaimed, feeling his face stretch before crashing against a building. The girls quickly opened their eyes to see Izuku standing before them, half halo and half horns, a hybrid between an angel and a demon. A hybrid of their personalities. Izuku, Ibara said, tears of happiness streaming down her face. Stay here. I'll handle him, Izuku commanded, his voice steady. Hey, we're missing something, Izu chimed in. The green-haired boy merely flashed a slight smile. We love you, Izuku and Izu declared in unison. Each of them controlled half of their body, their synchronization perfect. One white wing and one black wing soared toward Jose Luis, who was still falling from the sky. Jose's eyes widened with fear as he exclaimed, "When the hell did you get so strong?" "I've always been strong," Izuku replied, his voice steady. With a swift motion, he struck Jose hard in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. As he descended, he slashed with his wings and kicked Jose in the chest. Though the attacks might have seemed weak, they inflicted severe damage, and with each kick, Jose felt the pain intensify. Nearing his limit, he opened his eyes one last time to see Izuku's fist, glowing with power. "Screw you, idiot," Izuku declared, launching Jose into the air with inhuman speed. Jose crashed to the ground, unconscious. The girls quickly descended from the building, while Reiko levitated Bakugo and Todoroki. They noticed Izuku standing still, not moving. "You're amazing, Izuku!" Yui exclaimed happily as she approached him. Izuku remained silent. Bakugo, struggling to wake up, managed to say, He's still breathing. He still has flow. But that's not the impressive part." "Is he okay?" Ibara asked, worry etched on her face. Bakugo continued, "The honor of a warrior is to win. If he loses, he dies." Izuku had no chance, yet he still won, badly hurt but never fell. Momo's nervous smile widened as she said, "You mean that?" Todoroki chuckled softly, "He's someone incredible." "But why don't I understand?" Reiko wondered aloud. "Girls, take care of your boyfriend, seriously," Bakugo advised. Everyone watched as the green-haired boy began to slowly awaken, a smile spreading across his lips. He remained unconscious but stood up, ready to face whatever came next. To be continued. Chapter End. Kinoko Komori had finally achieved her dream of becoming an idol heroine, but unfortunately, her ego had grown alongside her success. "Seriously, you need to be more humble. You can't just go around calling everyone inferior," Izuku said, taking a drag from his cigarette, a baby strapped to his back with duct tape. "Just shut it, Camilla. I'm about to surpass you," Kinoko retorted defiantly. "Come on, girl, I've been at this for 25 years. You've got a long way to go in more ways than one," he mocked, a smirk on his face. "Shut up, Escamilla. One day I will be the best." "The best at what?" Izuku asked, raising an eyebrow. "The best," Kinoko insisted, determination in her voice. "My flower with a little pit," he teased, holding up a photo. Kinoko felt her cheeks flush fiercely at the sight of the picture he displayed. "Gotcha, you JRK. Now wash your face," he exclaimed, running off with the baby dangling from one leg. Kinoko fell to the ground, her cheeks burning bright red. Chapter End.